Mushrooms, truffles, call it psilocybin if you're a fancy pants, I don't care. But you will. You'll care about it deeply. You'll question your life. What have you done? Why are you here? What are you doing?
Snap out of it!
Look at your phone. What's the time? How much longer? What? What you just saw is what I like to call the mushroom experience. And I'm not talking about some Gordon Ramsay culinary dish. I'm talking about that fourth dimension. I'm talking about you being Neo sitting in front of Morpheus.
Choose to eat them, and you will see the truth of who you are. Discover your subconscious. Question things that you've just assumed were true. And if you navigate this path successfully, you'll emerge as...
But, well, what Morpheus won't tell you is that if you don't accept the path of the fungus and fight your subconscious instead, you will not, and I repeat, not have a good time. In fact, I think it's safe to say you shouldn't ever tell anyone to eat mushrooms. It never works out. Either they just don't do it, or they feel like they gotta try it and end up just fighting demons for 3 hours, gaining nothing from the experience except more fear. That being said, for education, science, and the furtherment of mankind, I will be sharing my story to educate the public about the dangers of the unknown. So by continuing with this video, you acknowledge that you are strictly watching this for educational and entertainment reasons and will never recreate anything in the video. Please? Was that enough? We'll see, boy. Enter my friend Ricky. Me and him were chilling at his place when we got to talking. You see, I had previously just consumed some interdimensional fungus a couple weeks back and was kind of raving about how eye-opening it was. You know, the basic hippie shit. But Ricky was not buying it, which in my eyes made me feel like I gotta prove him wrong. Now, I think he was such an unbeliever because he's your typical Eastern European blue-collar, work hard, get hammered on the weekend type of dude. Not that there's anything wrong with that, just I wish I would have realized if your favorite thing to do is forget about all your worries and problems by getting drunk every weekend, then mushrooms probably won't be something you'll vibe with, especially if you low-key don't even want to do them. But regardless, I was all like, Ricky, my man, my main man, my brother from another mother. Okay, I get it. What do you want? What I want is for you to want to eat some mushrooms with me tonight. Eat mushrooms with you and talk about our feelings, or hit up Salamander, go to the club, get hammered, pull some baddies, and lay down the pipe. Tough choice. Well, let me translate that for you. Eat mushrooms, chill out, have fun, free of charge. Or hit up Salamander, spend over $100 on drinks and club entrance fees in hopes of pulling a baddie. With, well, so far your track record being 1 of 15, with the singular success being that fat bitch. Okay, you made your point. Let's eat the stupid mushrooms. I probably won't feel them anyway. I had convinced my good old friend Ricky, or at least old friend, maybe not so good. Anyway, he was down to enter the land of mushrooms, and I was down with the plug who had some fungus on the low-low. Although I had promoted this event as free of charge, my financial situation disagreed. So I slowly leaned closer to Ricky and said,
If you bar $20 to the mall.
With the funding for our mushroom experience now secured, I hit up Jimmy the plug god with, and now we play the waiting game. Any moment now. Finally. Yeah, 10G will run you about $100. Ricky, Richard, Rick Dog. You think you can spare an extra $30 for the homie? Fine. With further funding secured from our amazing sponsor, Rick Dog LLC, we ventured into our automobile to go and secure some Chungus fungus. And while we were driving there, I was all like, you know what I want to experience ego death? You get rich and pull hella hoes forever, right? That's stupid, but enlighten me, I guess. Okay, so hear me out. Why do individuals eschew the pursuit of their aspirations and the undertaking of risks, particularly when they are not constrained by socio-economic disadvantages? The answer lies in the nature of the ego, which harbors a fear of failure. This fear arises from a deep-seated concern that we may not be as intelligent or as capable as we believe ourselves to be. Consequently, the ego compels us to remain within the confines of our comfort zone, a realm in which we can entertain limitless potential without ever actualizing it. Damn, you really want to eat those shrooms, don't you? Perhaps. As we pulled up to the plug's addy and hunted him down, we completed our transaction and received a good amount of fungus, which I thoroughly inspected on the ride back and told Ricky the plan. No eating anything 2 hours before ingesting. Drink orange juice or anything sugary to end the trip faster. It takes about 30 minutes to kick and 2 hours to reach maximum overdrive. Any questions? Do they, taste okay? Like an expired can of organic dog shit. Nice. We'll eat it with chocolate, though. Great. We got back to the crib and sat down at the couch next to the table and got all our supplies like orange juice, chocolate, and water. Let's do this. I'm ready. I can still feel the taste. Yeah, that'll be like that for a while, but let's take our minds off it with the new Plankton movie featuring SpongeBob. It's on Netflix. And so that's exactly what we did. Sat there in anticipation for the fungus to absorb, among us. It took a while, and the wait is always pretty anxious because you don't know when they gonna hit. I mean, it could be now. Better check my hands. No weirdness or fuzziness? What about the walls? TV, okay, seem normal for now. Why is Plankton always plotting something? Dude really got no chill, for real. They were starting to kick, but the start is easy. When you're at that microdose level, it's basically like being faded. It isn't until a few dozen minutes go by that if you took some chungus fungus, you're about to start tripping balls, bro.
A few moments later.
Yo, bro, you watching the movie? Bro, I got no fucking idea what I'm watching. That's fair. Might have eaten too much. Too much? Wait, you're telling me I ate too much? No, not really. It just could have taken less too, but what? No spiritual awakening then? Basically. Yo, I gotta get some fresh air. I feel like I can't breathe, man. Shit. Let's go outside then. You're getting me tweaking too, Rick Dog. Stop calling me Dad. As with every mushroom trip I personally ever had, stage 1 was complete, aka the indoors part, and stage 2, the juicy part, was just beginning. The outdoors wanderer and ponderer. Thank God we did this in spring, cause personally I don't know if I could even handle going outside in the cold while on that Mario pack. Anyway, we walked around in our small town in the fresh air, basking in the glory of the sun, hoping that we don't see anyone we know and shit. What's up? Y'all trying to come to the club tonight? Not gonna lie, me and Ricky are more fungus than Big Chungus, and Rick Dog is low-key. It's gonna be okay. It's gonna be okay. It's gonna be okay. High-key tweaking out like an Oompa Loompa. Damn! You two did mushrooms together? That's kinda gay, but well, have fun. No, don't leave me. Please, Tree. You're all I have. Yeah, we will, yeah. Ricky, come on now. The tree isn't leaving you. Let's go, get something to drink. So we moved on to the small grocery store in our neighborhood where, according to Ricky, we did not belong. He told me that it feels like everybody is staring at him, and although in my heart I knew that they weren't, the shrooms told me, yo, this mofo Ricky's speaking facts. Nah, bro, chill. You've been here enough to know that's not true. It's in your head, son. Not to scare you, bro, but, you're screwed. The demons are approaching. Ricky? We gotta get out of here right now. And so we did, with only one thing to show from our efforts, a container of OJ, which turns out does nothing. I mean, every smart shop owner in Amsterdam always says drink OJ to end the trip faster, but ChatGPT told me, nah, bro, that's cap. Which I wish I didn't ask him that while on the fungus, cause now all hope was lost. I couldn't even tell Ricky to jug the orange juice, cause I knew it was a dud. The trip really started feeling like a weird nightmare, but I mean, not so much, because I was tweaking mostly cause Ricky was, and I feel completely responsible for that, cause, well, it was my idea. So I did the only thing I felt like I could. I apologized to Ricky for dragging him into Mushroom Kingdom, which he accepted and told me, it's not your fault, bro. And after that, it was like something clicked, and we finally started vibing, talking about what we were feeling and what we were thinking. Near the end of the shrooms, we were discussing our trip, and if Ricky regretted it, and he said, well, yeah, but not as much as he thought. Because although the first half of the fungus was spooky, the second half did give him some type of spiritual or mental awakening, per se. Not that Ricky was gonna do anything with that. He got wasted with Salamander the next day and spent $200 on drinks, pulling zero hoes in the process. Moral of the story is, magic fungus can make you feel more connected with yourself and your subconscious. Will eating it once with no clear goal or motive change your life? Absolutely not. Or at least that's what I think due to my experience with Rick Dog.
For the last time, stop calling me that!
I've smoked the good before, and I've done the magic mushrooms, but I've always considered these things all natural and comparable to the average Joe having a couple drinks with his buddies on a Friday night. Yet I cannot call myself a man of nature and discipline no more, because what I have done is irreversible. It is unforgivable. It is the substance straight from the pits of hell. This story kicks off at my favorite place in the whole world, the Netherlands, where everything from Zaza to vials of magic power are legal. Now, me and my brother were planning on going to a hardstyle festival, and to prep for the unholy party, we hopped into the local magic shop and asked the cashier, "Yeah, hello, so we're tourists and we're going to a hardstyle festival tomorrow. Is there anything you sell here that would mix well with that?" Festival, eh? I got just a thing. Bam! Man pulls out 2 vials of Explode and proceeds to explain that this stuff kicks, and it kicks hard. But since we have never heard of it, we just ask, what the f is an explosion? Sounds like some male enhancement pill, bro. Nah. Well, best way I can describe it is like Molly, but like way more energy and a bit less wonder. This didn't tell me much because I had never done Molly, but my brother had, so he was just like, we'll take him. Shouldn't we see all the options before? Trust me, there is nothing better. And I would soon discover that this legal store-bought product was not a crude knockoff of the original. It was an update. Anyway, the day of the festival comes, and we're feeling like some kids on the night before Christmas, talking about, bro, how you think we gonna feel? I don't know, man, but it's gonna be awesome, for sure. We at the tent area right outside the festival, and we do it. We take that shot of explosion, and we down it with a couple drinks as well. The dance moves I was pulling were impeccable. They were reminiscent of Michael Jackson, just godly. After like 30 minutes of vibing and dancing, we went ahead and sat down on the grass to discuss our next move, but not even 1 minute went by when we were approached by these 2 teenagers about the same age as we were. They sat down next to us and started engaging us in conversation like, where you from, how old are you, etc. And we thought they were just trying to be friends or something, when suddenly, out of nowhere, oh, okay, so you're a tourist, cool. Wanna buy some We were flabbergasted. Had we just mistaken a door-to-door salesman for a potential festival friend? Yes, we had. I wanted to say no, but the words that came out of my mouth were, is it safe? Yeah, bro, I took one myself. Okay. So we decided to get ourselves 2 pieces, because well, I thought if I already did the stronger stuff, why not try the original too? So I could say without a doubt, I had done it. To all my friends so they think I'm cool. We take half a piece each, because we actually didn't even know if it was safe to mix the real stuff with the explosion. But you live and you learn. And thankfully, nothing bad happened. And to be honest, nothing amazing happened either. The monkey didn't really add any extra feeling, it just added more time to our high. Anyway, after like an hour from the second power-up, we sit down on a nearby bench to recuperate. And bro, I'm not exaggerating when I tell you this completely I don't eat, I only do drugs looking guy stumbles to us all cocky, offering us the powder. But not like,
Hey, you guys want to do some magic powder?
nah, this guy had a pile on his freaking hand, and he wanted us to sniff from his palms like some farm animals. And we weren't about to go that deep into this whole, screw it, let's take everything we're offered vibe. So we politely declined and moved on with the festival. It had now been 2 hours since we took half the yet it felt like 15 minutes. Time had flown so fast and we had no idea that the festival was ending in 1 hour. So we both took one half more and went to what we thought was the main stage to see the final show. And it was freaking amazing. The fireworks, the performers, everything. Yet again, 1 hour felt like a 5-minute YouTube video, and in no time it was over. But not to worry. There was an after party planned, which we excitedly went to, only to find out it was a silent disco. Not only that, there was like a maximum of 5 people there, so we were like, nah, let's just go to the car and smoke a fat spliff. And you know that feeling when the party's over, but the party ain't over in you, but there's nowhere to go, so you just go home all depressed like,
Man, I swear I could have gotten some hoes tonight if I only had more time.
well, that should have been what we felt, but it wasn't. I was happier than ever. I'm guessing the second had hit its peak just after the end of the show, so I was completely drowned with its powers. And this is when I realized how crazy and dangerous of a substance this was. Cause with kush and mushrooms, it's more of an experience, so it's like if you ain't got nothing to do and you smoke a ton of Zaza, you're still gonna be bored. But man, throw me in a coal mine with 12-hour shifts with nothing to eat but rice and ocean, and I'll still be like, man, don't you just love it here? The vibe is amazing. Everything is great. I love my work. Thankfully, we both escaped that night without any negative side effects, except for the fact our lips were completely destroyed. It was a combination of the substance plus the fact we were constantly rubbing our lips with our sleeves the entire night. But that's just something explosion makes you do, I guess. But not to worry, the trip wasn't over because we had a whole 2 nights in the Netherlands left, and we went straight back to the magic shop the next day to acquire more natural ingredients. Mushrooms are a lot like that one friend who is always talking and it kind of annoys you, but at the same time you love him cause you know he's always keeping it real with you. So if you are fiending for a third eye awakening on some Dragon Ball Super shit, you better be ready for the shroomy shrooms to take you through the depths of your unconscious, where it will dig out and highlight questions about your very fabric of existence, like, who am I? Why are we here? Do I like men? But anyway, that doesn't happen the very instant you eat the shrooms. In fact, the stages of a mushroom trip are so different, each one of them could be considered a substance of their own. But the first stage everyone experiences is Stage 1, Ingestion/come up. Right after consuming those Mario power-ups, you might feel your stomach twist and turn a bit, as your body is signaling to you, this shit was not food, wasn't it? But thankfully, it's usually pretty minor and goes away after a few minutes. While waiting for the shrooms to kick, you probably stare at a bunch of random objects hoping to find some type of moving pattern, cause that's what shrooms are supposed to do, right? Well, yeah, kind of, but after 30 minutes goes by and you're still staring at the wall with no sign of visual hallucinations, you probably think to yourself, man, I got scammed, didn't I? But then you start really thinking about it. Are you feeling something? And then you think about the next thing, and the next thing, and then you might laugh at something completely random like this picture of SpongeBob, and boom, you now realize they weren't duds, and you're about to go on a journey, bro. Also, after all this, you probably move on to Stage 2, Questions that lead to more questions. You're at the point now where you know the shroom's kicking, but you don't really see any visuals except for maybe the increased significance of every object, but the main thing is you have started questioning everything you know, but not in a scary way of nothing matters, there is no point. More of a, man, I love hanging out with Charlie. Wait, do I though? What type of person is he actually? He's friendly, but kinda secretive and keeps to himself. What is he keeping to himself? Could he be a totally different person? Am I becoming a better person by hanging out with him? What is going on?
So yeah, this stage can be very eye-opening to some, especially if you're the type of person to hang on to problems and worries instead of facing them. Because however hard you try not to think about something, the shrooms won't let you. And although it might seem like that's a bad thing, it's actually not. And you should treat this time of the trip to pinpoint the main questions you would like to receive some type of answers to by the end. Because soon after, you're gonna go to Stage 3. Holy shit! The mushrooms are now almost at full effect, and you're definitely seeing some hallucinations, like moving patterns, disfigured items, wavy hands, etc. But to be honest, that isn't really the main thing, because if you approach this trip with the right mindset, as in you wanted to actually take something with you to the real world afterwards, then currently you are most likely intensely trying to piece together the answers to the questions you highlighted on the previous stage. But it ain't as easy as it seems. It feels like you were constantly on a breakthrough to something really important and significant, but then you lose it and have to start again with the pieces you left off with. But if you stick with it, you'll always figure something out. Maybe not the full picture, but something. Also, you shouldn't blame yourself if you start talking or thinking about something that you feel is very amazing, but then halfway through realize you literally pondering about the implications of the evolution of the Pringles Man logo, bruh. But not to worry, that's the beauty of shrooms. They make you think about everything on a deeper level, and if you can find the correct things to think about through the clutter of Matrix conspiracy theories, you'll still emerge victorious. Speaking about emerging, the next stage is Stage 4. The slow come down. You are now slowly coming down from the shrooms, which is indicated by the fact you don't see as many trippy patterns anymore, but also you're more realistic in your thoughts as well. Also, at this point, you probably aren't bouncing from thought to thought as much anymore and have chosen a definitive couple of things to think about. And with those things, you will find answers, but also a lot of new questions, which can be frustrating, well, until you get to the next and final stage. Stage 5. Journey complete. At this point, you have almost completely came down from the magic, but not really, because although you don't see any hallucinations anymore, you feel more in touch with reality and yourself. The best way I can describe this stage is like it's the fruit of your labor. This is the stage where you've gone through the constant questions and search for answers and come out victorious. Best way I can describe it is like you're high off some Zaza, but with a much clearer head. So this is the perfect time to play some video games, watch a movie, or do really anything you find fun. Mushrooms. They are famous for their mindset-changing properties, but to me, they have always just been a funny fungus that makes you see stuff. Until the day me and my brother decided to do something this bearded guy called the heroic dose. And well, I can now confidently say that Mario is one crazy-ass motherfucker. Oh my god! The journey began in Amsterdam, like always, where we were going to hopefully enjoy our time in DEF CON 1, a festival so big these dudes made their own currency and segregated the population like the freaking pyramid system. Anyway, because this rager was 4 days long and we thought it would be cool to do something besides grass and drank for the whole time, we paddled our butts to a smart shop where, well, you guessed it, they sold mushrooms. But this time it was different. You see, a year ago, me and my brother did them for the first time, and because of that, we're extra cautious about the size of the portion, which led to us taking too little to truly call it a trip. We did end up mixing that shit with grass though, and it freaking blew our minds. But anyway, this time we were looking for the true experience, the type of shit that will have you questioning your very fabric of existence, cause well, we just built different like that. So as we were googling the right amount 200-pound behemoth should take to get the full experience, we stumbled upon this video of this YouTube scientist talking about what he called the heroic dose. After dividing the 10 with a 5 and multiplying that with a 69, we came to the scientific conclusion, we gotta eat a shit ton of mushrooms. And for that, we had to buy a ton. So we ended up purchasing 1 mega pack of truffles each, which is already considered a lot, but we also bought 1 extra that we were going to split to make it a ultra trip. Now, unfortunately, these truffles weren't allowed in the premises of DEF CON 1, so we did the only logical thing and hid them in the woods surrounding the festival area, which is important because this would end up making our journey 10 times more difficult. Anyway, 2 days went by of just chilling when we finally felt comfortable enough in our accommodation to decide, let's go get those goddamn mushrooms. And with that, we started our 10-mile hike to secure them things. To be fair, it was our own stupidity that led us to walking 10 miles instead of 1 because, well, you know, we Gen Z at the end of the day and we don't know how to read no damn map. But regardless, we powered through with only our clothes, DEFCON wristband, and our trustworthy flip-flops. And thankfully, no one had stolen our hidden stash, so now like a pair of wild animals, we demolished those shrooms looking like Mike Tyson on Impulsive for the next 3 minutes. Once we got that done, we walked back to the festival with the intention of going back to our tent. But unfortunately, having walked 10 miles in flip-flops in the scorching sun, once we saw 2 hammocks under the shade of a tree, we folded like a Nintendo DS and laid down and waited for what was to come. And at about the 30-minute mark, I felt the first bit of kick, indicated by the prolonged interest in this random guy who walked past us with red shades and a Swiss flag worn like a cape. I sat on that hammock wondering, where is that guy going to? What's like his story? Is he a good guy or is he a bad guy? If he's a bad guy and he's about to do something villainous, I could have stopped him. Will this haunt me forever? Oh wait, I'm tripping. Snap out of it, Mario. And that was the start of our heroic journey. We then proceeded to bounce back and forth questioning, what you feeling, bro? Until finally, RezX found the strength to stand up from that hammock with the bones surrounded by jelly that were our legs. Which also gave me the power to stand up and start wandering around the magical place that was DEFCON. The more we walked, the more trippy shit got. We truly felt like we were in some type of medieval town from the fact that there were no buildings, only shacks, and the people there were all either drunk, high, or both. Some of the stages were also kinda scary because you see DEFCON is a hardstyle festival, and in hardstyle there are many subgenres, ranging anywhere from remixes of popular songs to sentences like "Dance with the Devil" or "Long live the Antichrist," followed by a beat drop so strong the common man would mistake what he hears as noise, not music. Anyway, as you can imagine, some of the more hardcore styles were also accompanied with more hardcore people and more hardcore stages, which, well, when you're bugging off what we were, it got a bit intense. And it was truly a test of our characters, cause anybody can be a tough guy when they're drunk, but when you're at your most vulnerable and every thought is significant and uncontrollable, it's pretty hard keeping your cool. But in that moment, I was very thankful for my brother because although we are both Chads in our own right, that day the power of a single Chad was not enough and we had to really pull our power together to actually enjoy the trip and not bug out. Once we hit the 1.5 hour mark though, we randomly stumbled upon our friend who was there with us at DEFCON, and it was a very nice mid-quest point. We shared our experiences, explained that we are currently on another plane of existence, had some laughs, oh, and we also showed him our disgusting feet that we acquired from walking 10 miles in flip-flops, which he one-upped us by showing his messed up right eye which he got from getting dust on it or something. After that, we proceeded to the final boss, our tent, which might not seem all that scary, but at this point we had ascended to a place we had never even thought to exist. A place of pure mystery, questioning yourself and everything you know. The peak. Unfortunately, I can't really talk about most of the stuff we discussed because it was some real deep shit. But I will say it was one of the toughest experiences I've had. It was scorching hot, we were 1,000 miles from home, and we were just not in the correct dimension, bro. Coupled with the fact the tent was damn orange and illuminated everything to look like Donald Trump's tan. And bro, the moving patterns, they were endless. But at the end of it, we walked away with a lot of knowledge about ourselves and broke barriers in our minds we didn't know were there. So this heroic dose, just like the name suggests, is only for people who are courageous and strong enough to withstand it, because this was no easy smoke grass and play Xbox trip. This was a full-on journey. I'd even go as far to say this was, or at least felt like, a main storyline quest in our lives, which after completion we really did feel accomplished that we endured.
Imagine you ate a bunch of mushrooms, sat down and waited for them to kick, but as you were waiting, your homie gave you some acid. You sat there a bit longer, and just before everything started coming up, you smoked a massive bowl of some couch lock exotic za, and then boom, it all hits at once. That right there is how I describe DMT to someone who's never heard of it, because instead of gradually ramping up, DMT kicks down your mental door with a sledgehammer made of neon lights and screams. There is no build up nor gentle come up. One second you're in your room, the next you've launched through the fabric of reality like a screaming missile. You might meet entities that feel more real than your landlord, and they'll communicate in emotions, telepathy, or geometry. Then just as quickly, you're back on your couch like nothing happened, except you're sweaty, humbled, and questioning whether any of this or anything ever was real. But that's just DMT, the psychedelic equivalent of being booted out of the universe, given a cosmic PowerPoint presentation in a language your soul barely understands, and then drop back into your body with only a vague memory and a racing heartbeat. Knowing all that, you might understand why DMT has been one of the few psychedelics I've truly been scared to do. Not because I feared addiction or really any of the usual worries, but because I truly thought that I might not come back from this as the same person. But hey,
if you do it, you will talk to intelligent beings from other dimensions, for real.
Joe Rogan did it and he seems fine. So, for the sake of education and science, I will be sharing my experience with the king of psychedelics. No wavy hands here, a true out-of-body experience with cosmic figures, ghosts from my past, and an ending that truly left me questioning the reality that I saw versus the reality that I live day to day. But as a disclaimer, do not do anything in this video. It's all just a funny, entertaining, and educational stickman story and never actually even happened. I am a stickman. Anyway, it all started where I feel like these things usually start. Los Angeles, California, the city of angels and the homeless. I was staying in LA for 1 month, and I was your typical tourist. Benjamin in one hand and a Starbucks coffee in the other, walking on Santa Monica and Venice Beach, observing some of the most unique and, well, weird people I've ever seen. One guy was walking around with dreadlocks down to his knees and a live parrot hanging around his shoulder. Another smacking 10 blinkers of a pen in front of the metro before going in, sitting down, opening a Nutella jar and raw dogging the whole thing with his fingers, sitting right next to me, mumbling stuff like, Nutella. Then reaching my destination to play street ball, only to be picked up by a dude who had allegedly made $200 on the boulevard that day by doing backflips for money and then spending said money on his preferred combination of highs to play basketball. Shrooms and coke. Why I'm telling you all this is because I'm trying to get you on the vibes I was on for the month I stayed in LA. Normality became warped. Is this guy trying to rob me or is he just tweaking off crack? Being in situations like that nearly every day really warped my fear detector parameters. Whereas the first week, seeing a bunch of fent fiends camped out in tents staring frightened me, on week 4 I just waved at them and smiled while ripping some Cali exotic frontal cortex destroying Zaza. But the thing with smoking anything regularly is that eventually your body is gonna feel it. Coughing, mucus, lower stamina, these are all things that can come from too much loud in your lungs, bruh. Through my days of journeying around LA, I had visited many dispensaries until I found one that I grew to call home. Weeks of buying za went by, and I had built a pretty solid relationship with the owner there. I showed him my videos, and he showed me some of the famous people he's met like Snoop Dogg. Until one day, on my last week there, somehow the topic of DMT came up. He had done it before, I had not. I explained my adventures in Amsterdam, bugging off mushrooms and za, my heroic dose journey, etc., to which he replied, "You're ready." And after a few minutes of back and forth of me explaining why I'm a bit scared to try it, he ended up convincing me with 3 simple words. Sick video idea. Damn it! He's right. $7 for eggs? I need that ad revenue to survive. My quest had begun. A true legendary at CBD Bro adventure because he told me that he does not have DMT himself, but a buddy of his owns a smart shop near Venice Beach, and if you go there and say John sent you, they'll hook you up. I had been given a real-life oblivion quest on some...
You must travel to the faraway beaches of Venice, where there lives a powerful shaman. Once I find him, I must utter the code John sent me to progress the quest.
So I got on the nearest bus to Venice and started journeying there. After about 1 hour, I was dropped off and had a 7-minute walk to the DMT plug. When I arrived there, the shop was nearly empty, with only 2 stoner-looking dudes hanging around, and the clerk didn't seem too happy by my presence. But I gathered my courage, walked up and said, "Hello, do you guys sell DMT?" John sent me? And as I uttered the words of the legendary John, his face went from, "Get the f*** out of here, you fed," to, "Oh, John sent you, of course we have DMT. What you looking for, a pen or the real natural stuff?" Shit. Well, give me the natural stuff, I guess. Good choice. Here you are, and you know what? It's on the house. Just come back tomorrow and let us know how it went. Free? On the house? Tears of joy dripped down my face as I hadn't heard those words ever since I arrived in the US. Now, I was locked in. I grabbed the herb and bust myself back to my $3K a month rundown studio apartment. An absolute banger of a deal if you ask me, and got myself prepared. I firstly watched a couple videos on the first time doing DMT, and found this very popular one where it was explained that you have to smoke it 3 times, but that after the first hit, you're not gonna wanna do anymore, yet you must push on if you want to get the true mystical experience. And since I knew I probably won't be doing this stuff ever again, I decided that I just had to go all out. I packed 1 bowl ready and set aside 2 similarly sized doses on the table to be added in after I finished the initial bowl, and well, I got down to business. I ripped my first hit, and right after exhaling, my room started shrinking. I swear the walls started closing in on me, and it's like everything got some top tier Minecraft shaders and a texture pack. I was way screwed up, but there was also a guiding voice, very similar to the video I had just watched.
Whatever you do, don't stop. You have to keep going. You have to get that 3rd hit.
I'm not shitting you when I say I felt like my only way to salvation was to get to the 3rd hit. I rushed to pack the 2nd bowl, all while I still saw the walls closing in. It was like a time trial. Okay. The world around me started violently collapsing and vibrating like there was a glitch in the Matrix and I was about to be pulled out. It was so freaking intense, honestly, there's nothing I can even compare it to. I was screwed, I was tweaking, not having a fun time. I did not want to smoke more, but then through the chaos, my subconscious was screaming, "Finish what you started!" At this point, my arms were literally melting, but not in a particularly scary way. It's hard to explain, it was more cartoonish. I struggled to load the last bowl and fought my conscious brain every step of the way there. But I got it ready, and I smoked it. I smoked the whole thing, and I was simply not there anymore. I slumped back on my couch and just fell into a void of moving colors, weird shapes, and creatures. But even though I had never seen any of this, it all felt very familiar, like I had been there before, kinda like when you have a super vivid dream that weeks later you struggle to remember if it was real or your imagination. After a bit of time, the flickering colors and shapes stopped, and I landed in my childhood room, sitting in front of my monitor, and it was like all the colors and shapes were actually in this monitor, and I just zoomed out and I was sitting on my old chair staring at this screen, which was like a gateway to this colorful DMT universe. But even though I was not in the DMT portal anymore, my room was still super weird. Like everything seemed to be as I remembered it, but I had an odd feeling that something was not right. Everything seemed correct, but wrong at the same time. And then through the door to my room, in came one of my old friends, Salamander, but he was different. Like it was an alternate parallel universe version of him, and he was wearing this Matrix-style robe and just kept saying, "You are where you belong. You are where you belong." But I was like, nah, this bad trip fake-ass Salamander, so I ran towards him and tried to give him the 1-2. But as I ran at him, he disappeared, and so did the room and everything behind me, and I fell through the doorway into this endless freefall of darkness that was surrounded by computer code detailing my whole freaking life. Events that I lived through, written out in some JavaScript language, like my whole existence was just a game with preset events programmed in. Eventually, I stopped free falling and was just standing there staring at all this code around me in existential dread when a calming yet ominous voice echoed from a distance. "Now that you know, can you ever go back?" And snap! Just as I flew into this void via flashing colors and weirdly familiar shapes, it pulled me back the same. I opened my eyes and I was wide awake, clear-headed as I've ever been, staring around my room in shock. Holy shit. It felt like it was over before it even started, and although I was left feeling a little bit frightened from that ominous final message, overall, I was just in shock that there exists a plant with such tremendous power in pulling out your subconscious mind and leaking it all to your conscious mind. I had a sense of mental awakening, but also like I knew something I shouldn't. Shit still freaks me out to this day. Really, the only thing I can compare it to is some ultra vivid lucid dreams I've had, and even those those were more grounded in the reality we perceive day to day. DMT isn't your average psychedelic like psilocybin, which adds a layer on top of reality. DMT is its own reality, its own plane of existence, and for that reason, I probably won't be doing it again. Although I am very curious about the mysteries it presented to me, I also know from previous experience that trying to get answers to these mysteries just end up giving you more mysteries. But then again, I don't know, maybe DMT is different. Every type of cannabis explained, from weakest to strongest. We'll be looking at everything from the near oregano, low-grade flower that you probably smoked in high school to the most insane, near 100% THC concentrates that are sold at the top shelves of Cali dispensaries. Additionally, with the help of science and medical studies, we'll be categorizing each type of cannabis in the spectrum of entertainment, medical, creativity, and just plain old unhealthy. The objective of this video is to educate the public about the positives and negatives of weed in an entertaining way, but to do that, it is essential we discover how extremely varying different types of marijuana can be and why generalizing it as weed is good or weed is bad is just plain impossible. So without further ado, let's get into the weakest type of za there is, and that is low percentage THC flower and or CBD dominant strains. Okay, so I went into this video presuming you already know what THC and CBD is, but in case you don't, let's quickly summarize. THC is the chemical compound found in cannabis that makes you when did Family Guy become so funny? aka the munchies, laughter, feelings of euphoria, and overall its psychoactive effects come from THC. And CBD is the compound that reduces anxiety and can potentially help against depression, although the latter isn't as conclusive. There's also two distinct types of cannabis unrelated to its THC percentage, called sativa and indica, with sativa providing more of an energetic mind high and indica leaning towards a relaxing body high. So when we are talking about low percentage THC flower, aka 1 to 6% THC with a high concentration of CBD, we are in the realms of medical marijuana, meaning this type of weed, besides pure CBD of course, is the least intoxicating and can be potentially helpful to people with varying mental health issues. Just always keep in mind, smoking anything is harmful for our lungs, and even though this type of cannabis can be considered medical, it really depends on the person, their psyche, and what issues they are experiencing. So now we know low percentage THC flower links to the medical side, but what about entertainment and creativity? Well, although this type of cannabis won't have you staring at your wall for 30 minutes plotting your trip to the kitchen, it can, however, still give you a different perspective on things. Unrealistic feelings of euphoria and cartoonish thoughts probably won't occur, but that doesn't mean your creativity won't be affected at all. You might not come up with the next Rick and Morty while under the influence of this gas, but you could come up with creative solutions to pre-existing problems or give you a slightly different perspective on what you're doing. Coupled with the high concentration of CBD, which could help you feel more at ease and reduce possible anxiety that might have been attached to you before, this type of weed is best for beginners or people who could be trying to reduce their weed dependency without going straight up cold turkey. And that's why it lands itself in the far end of the medical spectrum, but not so much in the creativity and entertainment part of the fucking thing. Anyway, moving on, mid-grade THC flower, the mid-shelf gas. I won't go over this too long as it's quite similar to the previous one, but with slight differences. Mid-grade flower usually ranges between 10 to 20% THC with varying levels of CBD, which general rule of thumb is for medical use, go with the highest CBD percentage, and if you just want to get faded with your friends and play split screen Minecraft, get the one with the highest THC. Just make sure it still has some CBD in it so you don't, well, green the fuck out. Why I say that is because contrary to popular belief, CBD and THC do not bind to the same receptors in our brains, but through various studies and my own personal experience, CBD in most cases can reduce the adverse effects caused by THC, aka freaking out, feelings of discomfort, spikes in anxiety, etc. That's why even if you're an experienced stoner, it's good to have some CBD oil or flower that can help you if you're getting those unwanted side effects from some high percentage THC cannabis. So this type of weed lands itself higher in creativity and entertainment, but a bit lower in terms of its medical benefits. Moving on, high percentage THC flower, aka premium bud. This is the point where we start leaning much further away from the medical side into the entertainment and creativity side. High-end flower usually ranges between 20 to 35% THC, and unfortunately most of this top shelf flower is engineered to have very little or sometimes nearly zero CBD, which is why I said that this is the point where we really start deviating away from the term medical cannabis. But you might be asking, why can't I just get my flower with both high CBD and THC, you stupid Well, let me explain. Cannabis plants can naturally express high levels of either THC or CBD, but rarely both. This is because THC and CBD are derived from the same precursor, CBGA. The plant's genetics determine which enzyme, THC synthase or CBD synthase, is more active. In high THC strains, the THC synthase enzyme dominates, converting most CBGA THCA into THC, leaving little room for CBD production. To add to it, cannabis growers have traditionally bred plants to maximize THC levels because of its psychoactive effects, which are highly sought after in recreational markets. Over time, this selective breeding reduced the expression of CBD in high THC strains, as the two cannabinoids tend to work in an inverse relationship. So it's also unfortunately us, the consumers' fault that super high THC and low CBD percentage is the baseline for top shelf gas these days. With brands constantly trying to compete with each other and providing the most mind-boggling high possible, there isn't really a lot of demand for high percentage CBD flower that still gets you very high. People buying weed for recreational use usually only care about the get you very high part. But I'm not saying that there is absolutely no place for this type of weed in the medical world, but it is extremely situational. The same way as inviting a friend out to have a couple drinks and watch the game on a Saturday night to alleviate the stress and anxiety from a hard week of work, this high THC flower can be a fun night to blow off steam and take your mind off real world problems for a while because, well, this shit could have you so obliterated you'll be using 100% of your brain power on figuring out how to tie your shoe, bruh. AKA, this is imagination land. I'm kinda going off personal experience on this, but the artists and musicians I know seem to enjoy this type of cannabis the most, as it can completely block off the real world and enter you into this trance state where you are 100% focused on whatever you are doing.
But CBD, bro, doesn't that mean it helps with ADHD and anxiety?
In the moment it can, unless, well, you couldn't handle it and are instead rolled up in a ball on your couch focusing on defeating your demons. Anyway, multiple medical studies have shown that high concentration THC flower does not help against anxiety, depression, and ADHD at all. What it does instead is give you an escape from your ADHD, depression, or anxiety for a brief moment whilst under the influence, and even that doesn't come without a cost. As if you smoke too much of this high THC flower, or really any weed, you'll build up a dependency and in return feel even more distracted, have more anxiety, and increased levels of depression whilst not under the influence. AKA, if your friend claims to be smoking that top shelf Zaza for anything else than a fun time, he's either lying to you, himself, or he's just been smoking up for so long he doesn't even remember what it was like to be sober in the first place. So through everything we talked about, I'll have to place this type of cannabis right on the border of unhealthy and medical, with a very high level of creativity and entertainment. But now let's talk about our first non-farm to table cannabis, and that is hash, aka traditional concentrate. Hash, short for hashish, is one of the oldest cannabis concentrates made by collecting and compressing the trichomes, resin glands, of the cannabis plant. These trichomes contain the plant's cannabinoids and terpenes, making hash potent and flavorful. The potency varies heavily depending on the plant that was used to make it, but in general they can range anywhere between 20 to 60% THC. The biggest difference that me and other smokers I've talked to have noticed is that the high from hash, although quite strong, is usually shorter. And because this stuff is concentrated, 1 gram of hash will almost always get you higher than 1 gram of flower. The good thing about hash is, although it is concentrated cannabis, it is still natural. Traditional methods of making hash do not use any chemicals or solvents. Instead, they rely on mechanical processes like rubbing, sifting, or using ice water to extract the resin. Because of the wide variety of potency, it's quite hard to place this on our spectrum, but I'm going to put it just a bit closer to the medical side than the high potency flower, and a bit less to the creative side due to its shorter duration, which can make entering that trance state I talked about a bit hard.
Other concentrates, 60 to 95% THC.
Besides hash, there's like 10 different ways to get THC concentrate from the Zaza, some of which don't use solvents and some that do. If I were to go over every single one individually, this video would probably be like 30 minutes. And since there isn't really a huge difference in potency between them, I'll quickly summarize. Rosin, made by applying heat and pressure to cannabis flower, key for hash to extract resin. Live rosin, a solventless concentrate made from fresh frozen cannabis that's first turned into bubble hash and then pressed into rosin. Shatter or wax, extracted using butane or propane and then purged to remove residual solvents. Live resin, extracted from flash frozen cannabis using butane or propane, then purged. Diamonds, THC crystals. THC is crystallized using hydrocarbons and solvent-based processes. THC distillate, cannabinoids are extracted using solvents, aka ethanol or CO2, and then refined through distillation. Phew! And those are the most popular concentrates, which the most flavorful are usually live resin or rosin, as these retain the most terpenes. And the strongest concentrates are usually diamonds or THC distillate. But the reality is, unless you're like a super stoner, you probably won't be able to tell much of a difference between all of them, as every single concentrate is bound to get you absolutely bamboozled, unless you know, of course, you have an insane tolerance. The main takeaway from concentrated THC is that it builds up your Zaza tolerance very fast compared to regular bud because of its high potency and usually shorter duration, making you smoke up more often. Which is why I will be placing them closer to the unhealthy side side, but also the entertainment side due to the mind-boggling high it gives. But now onto the strongest type of smokable weed there is, in my opinion, and that is infused flower, aka moonrock or sunrock, 50 to 80% THC. You might be asking yourself why infused flower is ranked higher than concentrates when the THC percentage is actually lower. Well, take it from me, as someone who has done both dabs, aka concentrate, and infused flower, the small difference in THC percentage really doesn't matter in this case. The reason for that is, unlike dabs or the Benjamin, which on average has a shorter duration than bud, infused flower gives you the insane kick of concentrate whilst also providing the longer effect of normal bud, which in my eyes makes this the most potent smokable weed on planet Earth. But feel free to have a war in the comments about it. I'll be reading every single one like always. Placement on the spectrum will almost be the same as concentrate, but because you won't be smoking up as frequently and in return damaging your lungs a bit less, I'll put it just a bit closer to the medical side, but still definitely unhealthy. Now for the last type of Zaza that is in a league of its own, and that is of course
Edibles. Infinite THC percentage.
why I rank Eddies as the strongest type of weed is quite simple. In the act of cooking cannabis, it turns into something different, something otherworldly, something psychedelic. If you watch some of my other videos, you'd know that I view super potent edibles as something entirely different than normal weed. I'd even go as far and compare them to mushrooms. And science has my back on this because when you digest THC in your liver, it turns into something far more potent, and return when you go to the cinema and watch Oppenheimer, you'll probably be overwhelmed and geek the fuck out. Watch the video on the screen and you'll know exactly what I mean. Oh, and because you're not damaging your lungs in controlled doses, I'd say this is by far the healthiest way to consume cannabis, so far in medical, far in entertainment, but not so much creative because you'll most likely be immobilized. Drunk versus high, the two most common altered states of being us humans indulge in, which, believe it or not, your preferred choice between these two vices can actually show a lot about your overall personality. For most of us, if you plan on getting high and hanging out, it means eating Doritos, rewatching Pineapple Express, and or playing video games. On the other hand, getting drunk and hanging out usually means stumbling around the club with your friends, yapping with strangers, trying to close a deal with potential prospects, and finally vomiting in the bathroom just to go back to the dance floor and repeating the previous steps until A, you close a deal with progressively less desirable prospects, or you strike out completely, go home, and brace for the hell that's waiting for you in the morning. But there is a lot more you need to take into account when comparing alcohol to weed, so today, for the sake of science and education, let's look at every major category and come to an unbiased decision on which of these substances is subjectively better, starting with the most important category, and that is the effect. You ever seen a dude faded beyond belief, hanging out and having a fun time with a dude that's drunk as fuck? The answer is probably no, because as I said earlier, the personalities of the two substances just don't mix very well. Being high is a combination of overanalyzing every thought you have and really going deep into your inner 10-year-old, which means laughing uncontrollably at a TikTok your homie sent you one moment and then the next remembering that we're all really just chunks of matter roaming an endlessly expanding universe without no clear purpose except enjoying your time alive. Ooh, funny cat video. And being drunk is the exact opposite in the way that instead of overanalyzing your decisions, you don't think about them at all.
You're telling me if I did a backflip off that table right now, I'd impress all the hoes? Yeah, probably. You know how to do a backflip though? Just watch. Hey everybody, check this shit out. Shit. Bro, I thought you said you know how to do a backflip. I never said I knew how to. I just thought I'd pull it off somehow.
Basically, being drunk makes you overconfident, unaware of your surroundings, and numb social anxiety, and overall just makes you very spontaneous in your actions. But don't get me wrong, that's not always a bad thing per se, cause being drunk is fun as fuck. To be honest, in most social situations, it's probably gonna be way more enjoyable than being high. Just the way I see it, alcohol numbs your senses and worries, while makes you more aware of them. So although in the long term, smoking grass is probably less harmful to your overall life, that's not what we're comparing here. So a bit of a controversial take maybe, but alcohol wins this category 1-0 booze. But now let's look at the thing that comes a couple hours after the effect, and that's the after effect / hangover. Not gonna dwell on this subject for too long, as I think we all know where this is going. If you get shit-faced drunk on Friday, you're gonna be fighting the urge to yourself on Saturday. Okay, that might be a bit of an over-exaggeration, but it's low-key true. Because you see, ethanol, aka alcohol, is literally poison, and when you drink too much of it, you're gonna feel like you've been poisoned. Like shit, who would've thought? And with weed, of course, there is no hangover whatsoever. Well, not really, because if you've ever gotten absolutely annihilated to the point your body switches to autopilot before, then you know after waking up the next day, there is a high possibility you'll experience low energy, haziness, brain fog, and worst of all, the desire to get schmacked again in the morning so you can binge watch season 1 of SpongeBob and ignore all your goals and aspirations. But that is a lot better than feeling so awful that you become a devoted Christian overnight and start begging God for mercy.
My head hurts so bad. I know I haven't reached out in a while, God, but please end this suffering, and I promise I'll never drink again.
Hey bro, wanna go to Lucy's place today? Everybody's coming. It's supposed to be a crazy party. Yeah, let's go. So even though the grass isn't the miracle plant some people believe it to be, I'd still say it's the clear winner in this category. 1-1 all tied up. Now let's look at cost. In the previous comparison of weed versus nicotine, I went through all the levels of consumption to figure out which one is cheaper, but with this one, comparing just the cost of the booze versus the Zaza isn't gonna cut it. Because you see, on a night out where you get wasted, I'd say maybe like 20% of the actual money spent is gonna be on alcohol you yourself consumed, with the rest going to entry fees into clubs, buying shots for them hoes, expressing your love to the homies by buying them drinks, and other stupid shit people tend to do when drunk. Also, unless you're a straight up bum or functioning alcoholic, you're not gonna be drunk every day. Instead, if you love drinking and partying, you'll be drunk every weekend. Or the other possibility is, of course, you drink a couple beers every night at the end of your day, which the best way to tell if you fall into this category is go look in the mirror, and if you have a dad bod, then yeah, you're probably in it. With smoking though, your primary cost is gonna be in the weed itself, ranging anywhere from $40 a month if you only blaze on the weekends with your homies, all the way up to like $500 a month if you're getting high every day. Which this category is quite hard for me to pick a clear winner because it really just depends on your personality and self-control when drunk, so I'ma leave it at a tie. I'm sorry, it's the only way to be fair. 2-2, we're still tied. Now time for addictiveness. I think the best way to answer this question is by looking at what these substances do to you, starting with alcohol. The saying, drink away the pain, exists for a reason. Alcohol is a numbing agent. It numbs your senses, numbs your brain, numbs your body, and it numbs the pain. Basically meaning you can drink away your problems for the night, which if that isn't enough of a red flag, it also has some pretty major withdrawal symptoms if you decide to stop being an alcoholic one day. And although with there can also be withdrawal symptoms, it's a bit harder to get that far, and from what I've digged up, they're not as hard to overcome. Although, take that with a grain of salt because the research on this field isn't super conclusive yet. But if alcohol is a numbing agent, then what is the ganja? Glad you asked. In my opinion, the Zaza is an amplifier, so if you're sad and dealing with some serious emotional damage and then smoke a doozy, you're gonna be even more sad, and the emotional damage will feel much worse. Obviously, if you get so blasted you switch to manual breathing, it can also numb the pain to some regard, but that's only because your brain puts your trauma aside to focus on surviving the high, and it's not like it's always gonna do that. It might actually just make you focus on your misery even more. That being said, I'ma give this point to the Zaza, because although saying isn't addictive is false, it is still less so than alcohol. So 3-2, the grass is finally winning, but maybe this next category will tie it back up. Variety. This is a very interesting category because both alcohol and weed have variations. For bud, that usually means is it sativa or indica? What's the THC percentage? What strain is it? And for alcohol, it's about the same, as in what percentage of alcohol is the drink? Is it vodka? Is it tequila, beer, etc.? So both have variety, but there's one major difference that, in my opinion, pushes one of these substances over the hump to victory. Unlike alcohol, which you can only drink or technically eat, but well, nobody's really doing that. Anyway, with weed, you have many ways of consumption. Eat, drink, smoke, vaporize. You can even use a tincture and drop some highness right on your tongue. And although alcohol does have some variety in its effects, it's usually always about the same compared to the Za, where if you're smoking some Cali Sativa Exotic, it's gonna be noticeably different to some standard indica. And for that reason, I have to give this one to the Zaza. Part 2 does Mary Jane still undefeated. The wake and bake is a legendary art form created by humans of the highest intellect. The act of waking from one slumber and immediately entering into Yodi land is a sacred practice known only to the chillest of creatures. There has been a lot of controversy in the meaning of wake and bake. Some say it can only truly be called the holy practice if one smokes up immediately after awakening from dreamland. Others, including myself, believe it is not necessary to sleep next to your crusty last cleaned in 2007 smelling like a rotting can of tuna ass piece of glass. Cause I don't know about you, but personally I like to start my mornings off with something nice, like a coffee or some bacon and eggs, not the taste of water in my mouth whilst coughing my lungs out. I believe a true connoisseur won't partake in such barbaric activities and will at least put some pants on before smoking that doozy. Now, if you ever participated in the wake and bake, you will know that it hits differently than, let's say, an evening bake, but only if you got the whole day free, cause the Zaza will amplify your excitement for the coming day, or until you eat breakfast and pass out on your bed. Back in summer, I used to bake after the wake quite a bit. It was always really nice to just go outside to the warm sun while smoking that morning pack. And bro, don't get me started on those breakfast munchies. I'm usually the guy to only drink coffee or something for breakfast, but that early morning grass gets me on that Nico Cotto avocado pack, I swear.
Bro, how much are you going to eat?
Everything. And after a delightful breakfast like that, how can you be anything but energized? Nah, in reality, after destroying 2,000 calories of Twinkies, you're probably gonna pass out in 20 minutes. But that's why after the first couple times, I created the 3 golden rules of a productive wake and bake. Number 1. Don't have a demonic ritual that involves you sacrificing 15 hot pockets in your stomach. But you just said that the breakfast munchies are nice. Yeah, they are, but you have to treat the massive breakfast kind of like drinking alcohol. So you gotta understand the sacrifice you are making by having that giant breakfast. You are effectively done for the day, as you will most likely fall right back to sleep after, and then when you do wake up from your 3-hour morning nap, you'll feel all hazy and bad, cause you just wasted your whole day. Lazy piece of shit. So if you wanna avoid that, don't wake and munch. Number 2. Make a plan the night before. Have goals set for the day. Basic stuff like buy groceries, maybe work out, hang with some friends, stuff like that. Cause when you have a plan the night before, you are much less likely to just sleep the whole day and then at night feel like a lazy fat tub of lard. But also keep in mind, you are supposed to have fun on a wake and bake, so don't make the objectives too hard cause you're probably just not gonna do them then. Some of my favorite wake and bake activities include going to the gym, playing a team sport, playing a story game, bathing in the sun, going to the store, hanging out with the homies, etc. Anyway, time for the last rule, which is number 3. Don't get obliterated on the wake and bake. So this one is kinda obvious, but important nonetheless. It might seem like a great idea to get soinked up to max on your first hit, but in reality, all that will do is spoil the plans you set the night before. Cause no matter how productive of a smoker you are, when you're faded to the max, there is about a 95% chance you'll tell yourself, ugh, whatever, I'll do it tomorrow. Which once evening rolls around, will hit you with that existential depression. And the only way to escape from that is with the purest form of productivity. We've all had it, we all know it. 2 a.m. motivation.
F the drugs, f the cigarettes, f that dumb bitch. It all starts fucking today, alright? No more fucking excuses. That's the fucking, this is the year of the fucking soldier.
And I mean, even though who doesn't love a bit of midnight motivation, it won't get you anywhere in the long term, and really is usually just a sign of doing nothing useful during the day. But hey, if you follow these 3 golden rules, I'm sure your future wake and bakes will be much more productive and fun. At least I hope so. The Plug, a holy being that will always be there for you, especially when you don't need him, and also occasionally when you do. And because I don't live in the fancy America, where all the big vloggers and TikTokers are, I still rely on the Plug for my Zaza. But after years of buying from different plugs, I always wondered how much money do these guys actually make and what are the requirements to be successful in the profession? Well, finally, after the introduction of a new, scientifically enhanced type of grass, HHC, I kinda got the answer to these questions, and I'ma be honest with you, it ain't what I expected. As I said before, it all started with the introduction of the so-called new and improved ZA, HHC. And because it was new and regulations had not been set, even in my Stone Age country where an 18-year-old can buy a liter of vodka and drink himself to death, Or just get hammered and get the sudden urge to call out the 6'5" undefeated heavyweight MMA fighter at the club because, well, when he sees red, bodies start dropping. Anyway, since this was legal and I am a law-abiding citizen who wouldn't even dare to jaywalk, I thought to myself, this is the perfect moment to see what being the plug is all about. Furthermore, because most dudes in this country don't know anything about strains, hash, bud, and just take whatever the plug has, I didn't need to worry about people thinking I scammed them. Also, your boy conducted a thorough inspection of this new product, using only the most delicate and scientific tools possible. Oh, okay, I hit that shit through a Red Bull canning. It kicked pretty nicely, so I dubbed it Verified Lab. After securing half an ounce of the Verified Lab, which is 14 grams in European tongue, I went to work on finding customers. And obviously the best place to start is on Snapchat. So I took a picture of the Zaza with the caption, $15 per gram, hit me up. Which is a steal, because, well, it sold for 20 a G here. And unfortunately, I only got one sale, cause I guess most of the people who I knew smoke Verified Lab were plugs themselves and knew of the existence of HHC and that it's like $6 a gram. But I was still determined to flip them packs and make them racks, so I hit up the most trustworthy plug I knew who actually had people in his contacts who smoked Verified Lab, but were not in the business of trapping themselves. After a thorough business meeting where we may or may not have smoked the grass ourselves, he conducted that the gas I had was indeed worthy of the title Verified Lab, and offered to buy it all for $12 a gram, which, I mean, I got it for 8.5, so I obviously said yes. At first I thought that was all. I made a nice profit of about $40 and was feeling good. But after about 2 days, I got a message from the plug I conducted business with reading, "Bro, that shit sold out quick. Can you order more? I think I can actually sell this stuff for 25 a G, cause people want the same stuff real bad." Now, I think you are currently pondering two questions. Why didn't he just order more himself? And how the hell did these dudes not know it was HHC? Well, the reason he didn't order more himself is quite simple. He is a full-time OG plug, so dudes does not have a bank account to order stuff. And to answer the second question, I truly don't know. I couldn't really believe it myself, but I guess most stoners really don't give a fuck about news and staying up to date with it. In the words of the great plug himself, these dudes just wanna get as up as possible. They don't know nothing about no THC, HHC, CBD, BBC, NBA, MMA, nothing. Anyway, it all sounds great, right? Everybody loves the Verified Lab and are willing to pay premium for it. Plus, it's all technically legal and I don't even need to sell it myself. Well, it would have been, but there were two problems that made it a bit more sketch. You see, the issue with HHC is that it's a chemically produced product. All it actually is THC with a couple extra hydrogen molecules. And through thorough research, both practical and scientifical, I found out that HHC is very unstable in nature, meaning one patch of the same strain can truly be Verified Lab. But then the next patch made with the exact same za and same way could be some whack leftover Reggie. It's because it's very hard to control how well this hydrogen molecule binds to the THC, and not financially worth it to control the potency of each patch. So you could order that shit once and get some damn moon rock, or like the first experience I had with HHC, get some damn oregano. And the second problem was the plug I was conducting business with didn't want that risk all to himself, so I would have to cover the upfront costs of the HHC and then give it to him where he would hopefully flip it for 25 bucks a G, which I would receive 15 bucks a G and him 10. So here I was with quite the pickle of a conundrum. Should I order a whole ounce of HHC, which by buying an ounce you get the best price per gram, but I risk it being whack Reggie? Or should I just order a fourth, therefore lowering the risk of getting whack product, but also lowering the profit margins? And the conclusion I arrived at was the best of both worlds. I ordered half an ounce just like before. After receiving the good, I gave half of it to the trustworthy OG plug and waited for that passive income to roll in. But unfortunately, it was as I feared. The stuff I got this time was still good and solid, but it just wasn't the verified loud I received before. So the OG plug was having trouble marketing it as premium za and lowered the price to the industry standard 20 bucks a G. But unfortunately, dudes were catching on as well, and some of them refused to buy the za cause they could just order it online. Like, yeah, you can, but wouldn't you rather buy from your friendly neighborhood plug? I guess not, cause after a couple days, the OG plug sent me another message. Yo, this stuff ain't moving like before, and people catching on about the origins. I have half of the stuff left. If you want, I'll buy it out for 10 bucks a G, or just return it to you. Which I hesitantly chose the first option, so I had him just buy it out. Yet there was still the issue of the 7 Gs or so I had left, which I initially planned on flipping, but was unfortunately unable to, cause mofos knew I got that shit for pennies compared to the asking price. So I did as old plugs would do and dubbed the leftover HHC as my personal stash, and just started blazing my own product, which was kinda stupid in hindsight because a couple weeks after, HHC was illegalized, as we all knew it would be, and became a rarity in the ZA industry. Which mofos started flipping that shit for 30 bucks a G, like goddamn, it ain't even that different from normal ZA. Anyway, by the end of it all, I made a bit under $100 in profit, or in another metric, about 10 Gs of ZA, which I smoked myself. So really the conclusion to my plugging experience was I got free grass, which was a bit underwhelming cause I was hoping to become the local Pablo Escobar, if you know what I mean. Moral of the story is don't get high off your own supply, or at least if you want to be a businessman. Oh, and also don't sell illegal things, cause well, this HHC was legal, so I could have technically flipped it on Facebook Marketplace or something. Ever wonder why some dudes can inhale that freshly cut grass an unholy amount of times with eyes so red you think dude is bleeding internally on some exorcist shit, but when asked, how you feeling bro? They'll respond with something like, or, honestly, could go for one more J. Well, the reason for a response like that is due to their grass smoker power, which, contrary to popular belief, isn't all about tolerance. Although that can be an important factor, it isn't everything. So Randy, who's 30 years old and has been on a tea break for 2 years now, but has been consistently inhaling that grass for the entirety of his adult life, will be much less likely to freak out over some stupid shit than, for example, Jimmy here, who's been getting high for 2 months straight every day and claims himself a ZA God. The reason for that is, Jimmy, although his tolerance is almost maxed out, still can't handle the fade in a situation even remotely out of his comfort zone. All that being said, we all start off on level 1.
Bro, I think it was laced.
Level 1, the good old times where the ZA was still mysterious and scary. This is the level you're at if you've inhaled that magic spice only a couple times, and only so in the safest, securest, and good vibey situations possible. And honestly, while at this level, you couldn't even imagine doing anything besides eating Doritos and scrolling YouTube shorts whilst blasted, cause you just haven't gotten used to the feeling the green bestows upon you. That being the increase in significance of every thought and action, and because you don't know how to control it, your experiences with weed are mostly in your own head. So when you high, you can't focus on shit. Like really, the only thing that seems to catch your attention for more than 10 seconds is that sweet, sweet flavor on those Sour Patch Kids that you never knew could explode in your mouth like that. Now, depending on if you getting blasted solo or with friends will determine your speed of leveling, cause usually if you with friends, you get used to the ZA more quickly because you're socializing. Plus, you know, there's always that one guy in the group that likes to mess with the newbies by getting them as high as possible and then being like, hey guys, let's go to the gas station. Which might seem whatever, but if it's your first time, you might just have a damn panic attack at that 7-Eleven, cause I swear, everybody is looking at you, and the cashier, he's onto you. Yeah, fuck that guy. Anyway, if you keep on eating grass, you'll move on to level 2. I am the Zaza God. Remember Jimmy, the self-proclaimed Zaza God? Yeah, well, he ain't quite the ZA God he believes himself to be. To be honest, he barely a ZA foot soldier. Cause it's all good and fine if he gets blasted up to Mars in the comfort of his own home, but take that comfort away and you'll most likely find him walking behind the group on his own looking like a lost puppy. And the reason for that is, my man's thought that he's been high so many times he can be high anywhere, which sadly isn't the case. Think of tolerance as the size of your dick. It can be massive, destructive in nature, and uncontrollably powerful. But what does that matter if all you use it for is to jerk off? Same with tolerance, it's situational, so you can be unfazed by the ZA in the comfort of your own home, but as soon as that comfort is taken away, you a total noob again. Instead of focusing on the size of his T, Jimmy should have been focusing on upping his riz and going out and pulling some quality baddies, if you get what I mean. I'd say going from this level to the next is one of the biggest steps in between levels, cause to confidently say you a Za god, you should be able to keep your cool in most public situations, even if everybody is staring at you and every car with a hint of blue is a FBI agent ready to take you away for good. You gotta be chill, like a cucumber. And if you do study the cucumber enough while spugging off the broccoli, you might just advance to level 3, Transformer, Optimus Prime. This level is called Transformer because it's the level where your Zaza adventures completely transform. Instead of only smoking up at the comfort of you or your friend's home, you can now make plans in somewhat chill public areas like fast food places, cinemas, the park, the spa, or really anywhere where you know people will most likely be minding their own business. And because of this newfound power, you probably have also started blazing that green more, which depending on the type of person you are, it could start affecting your everyday tasks and goals negatively because although hard to admit, the Zaza can and will make you a lazy mofo if you let it. But as I said, it all depends on the shape of your character, so if you can control the inherent laziness the Za tries to curse you with and still keep on rolling with your goals without becoming a Dorito munching World of Warcraft playing stay-at-home hobgoblin, at some point you'll move on to level 4. Yeah, to be honest, I'm high right now. Welcome to the ultimate purgatory and struggle of a consistent Za enjoyer. As I said before, you only advance to this level if you didn't become a Star Wars lore arguing Prime Dumbledore admiring League of Legends playing high stay-at-home goblin. Wait, I argue Star Wars lore all the time, and I love Dumbledore. Ah, well, at least I don't play League of Legends. Anyway, as I was saying, it's quite hard to make it to this level, and even harder to stay here, because nowadays, you are so used to doing stuff while splasted, you could theoretically be in that state 24/7. But the problem is, you also know being high 24/7 is expensive, plus, even if you don't notice, I'd say for 95% of people, it makes them less productive as well. So that's why I call it purgatory, because you're constantly pondering the question, should I maybe do a quick hit before doing this? And although I'd love to say I have the answer to that question, I don't. It all depends on you and your situation. So for example, if I had a job interview, I wouldn't do a quick hit. But then again, I know dudes who say the Za makes them less nervous and stressed, plus more talkative. So for those people, I'd have to say, go ahead I guess. But if one day you find a definitive answer to the question, should I maybe do a quick grip before this? You'll move on to the final and most elusive level there is. Level 5. Za God. You have entered into your own subconscious and from it dug out answers to humanity's biggest questions like, are we alone? Why are we here? Why is an 80-year-old man running for president again? And of course, should I bang that Benjamin a little bit before heading out? And I'm sorry to inform you guys that I do not know much of this level because I have yet to make it this far myself, and I still have no idea why Joe Biden is running for president again. But I can tell you this much. This is the level that completely transcends tolerance, as you really don't even need to worry about that anymore, cause you know your body to the point you always know what amount is the right amount. Also, you have figured out the perfect formula for working hard and following your dreams, whilst also inhaling that Za and being a chill and interesting dude, not just some corporate suck-up. Dabs, the world's strongest Za, or so I have been told. In reality, dabs can't really be considered the world's strongest Za, cause it's technically not weed anymore. It's the extract of it. And although there are natural and unnatural ways to extract that THC, the end result is always the same: super potent, sticky, icky wax. You see, wax is like the express lane of cannabis. If the express lane was designed to launch you into a height so intense, you'll wonder if you just got teleported. It's a concentrated form of cannabis where all the THC and terpenes have been extracted from the plant into a sticky wax-like substance. Think of it as the espresso shot of weed. It's quick, potent, and designed to get you where you're going fast. Wax generally contains anywhere from 60 to 90% THC. That's right, you're basically inhaling a THC rocket launcher. A little dab, literally a small dot of wax, is enough to send you to the moon and back in no time, which, let's be honest, might be exactly what you're looking for, but anyway. The extraction process typically involves solvents like butane or CO2, which separate the THC from the plant material. The result is a gooey concentrate that can resemble something between between honey and a gummy bear's worst nightmare. And if you think it looks a little sus, that's because it probably should. Just make sure you know what you're doing with the dab rig, or you might end up with an accidental science experiment that doesn't go quite as planned. Now, you might be wondering, CBD bro, what's the difference between like strong bud and dabs, eh? What's up with that? Glad you asked, my little munchkin. Bud typically contains around 15 to 25% THC, depending on the strain and how good your dealer is. This means it's still potent, but you won't be crossing into a parallel universe with a single puff. You get a slower, more gradual high that builds up over time, kind of like gently being rocked into a nice little nap. Unlike wax, which is concentrated and intense, bud is the slower burner of the weed world. Sure, you'll still get high, but it's more of a let's hang out and take our time with this situation. Like sipping on a glass of wine versus chugging a bottle of tequila. You'll get the same effect, but one will probably leave you with fewer regrets. To put it simply, wax is like the hardcore version of cannabis, while bud is like the I'm just here to enjoy myself version. Both will get you high, but one will probably make you rethink your life just a little bit. So what made me want to try dabs in the first place? Well, you see, as the modern day Columbus, I like to view myself as a discoverer, and having tried every type of grass besides wax, it kind of bugged me that I didn't have any knowledge of the latter. And so, for science, my own personal curiosity, and educational purposes, I decided to test it out so I can stand here and tell you not to try it. Here is my experience with the dabs. Let me set the scene for you. I have been in Florida smoking up every day on that not CBD Zaza legal nationwide, baby. Don't get high off your own supply, they say. But since the supply was in a warehouse, I thought it didn't apply. Problem was, with 24/7 online access to premium bud, I got my tolerance up to levels I honestly didn't think was possible for me. But Florida is not the place this story takes place. It was just a prologue. After building up a Dracula castle-sized fort of tolerance in my body for 2 months, I flew my badonkadonk to Denver, Colorado, where ZA is legal on the state level. And I don't know if I just got lucky 3 times in a row or Denver has more dispensaries than grocery stores, but for some reason every hotel I stayed at had a right outside the door, like it was part of their compound or some shit. Anyway, once I arrived in my first hotel, I had no real plans of going to Dabbington City. In fact, I assumed because Colorado is like the capital of ZA, I could achieve the fate I was chasing by just buying some premium bud. It wasn't until I went to my next hotel when I finally ran out and was in the market for some exotic again. But this time I knew flour wasn't going to be enough. If I was going to end my multi-month US trip with a bang, I needed something that would face my insane tolerance and overcome it. Push me back into Yodi land one last time. So I went to this and explained my situation to the clerk. Hello sir, what can I get for you today? Yeah, so I'm looking for something strong. Well, in that case, I guess I recommend edibles, maybe some moon rock or dabs. What do you like? I've never done dabs before, but I have heard that they're very potent, so I guess I'll go with them. Fabulous choice, sir. I have 3 types here. The cheap stuff, the good stuff, and the insane stuff. It was at this moment that I sealed my fate. My overconfidence consumed me, and I answered, "Give me that insane shit, bruh." 92% THC is the wax I received, and to all you ZA experts who are already typing, "THC percentage doesn't mean anything. Has this guy ever even smoked before? LOL. I live in my basement alone, and all I smoke is that exotic." Nah, for real, bro. Last video some dude said what matters most is the plant's DNA and its heritage. Like your average smoker is gonna walk into the on some, excuse me, could you tell me about the DNA compensation of this ZA? Yeah, I don't know, bro. It says OG. Of course I see that, but tell me about the history of this particular plant. Were its ancestors also original gangster? Look, man, I get $14 an hour here. I don't freaking know. I've smoked it before. It's pretty good. Anyway, now that I got my premium dabs, I needed a way to smoke it. But because I knew doing dabs is not as easy as just, say, ripping a BONG, I decided to do a bit of research before buying any equipment. So I went to the closest Starbucks, sat down, and...
This is what you're gonna need. A cap, a nail, terp spinner, which is optional, a rig, Q-tips, a torch, a timer, dab tool, and a set of lungs.
Well, that's ridiculous. I knew it wasn't simple, but what the fuck is the main thought that went through my brain. I had no idea you needed a whole damn chemistry kit to take a dab, but I had already committed. I mean, that premium wax wasn't cheap, and I was determined to finish what I had started. So I went to the closest smoke shop like, "Hello there, can I help you with anything?" Yeah, so, I need a cap, a nail, a spinner, a rig, Q-tips, alcohol, a torch, a timer, and finally, a dactyl. Do you have all of that?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure I can find all that stuff around here somewhere, but you could just buy this electronic pen. Probably be a bit easier.
Oh, well, sure, but does it include, a cap, a nail, a terp?
No, but, like, you can do a dab with it.
Oh, fantastic. I'll take. As it turns out, all you really need to take a dab is a e-pen, but I'm sure I'll be lectured in the comments about how that's not the same and how I've never even been high before. Anyway, I was now almost ready to enter into Dabbington City. But it was not gonna be easy, as I was staying at a no-smoke hotel. So I grabbed all my stuff, walked like 10 feet from the hotel, loaded my dab, and... Oh, it's not on. So I put it on the high setting, waited a couple seconds, and prepared to smack it again. I was done. Finished, bamboozled. No words can describe how absolutely grade A I was. I knew from the moment I exhaled that I needed to get to my room as fast as possible because this high instantly reminded me of when I first blinkered a Benjamin, only even more intense. I felt like my eyes had caved into my brain, making me more third person than first. Also, I could detect every organ in my body individually, and the sound of my heartbeats were constantly playing like some background music. I don't even know if I finished the whole dab, but I just knew I had to skedaddle before I...
Wait, is it a bit No. No.
You see, I have this weird, awful debuff I only get sometimes when I'm like really hot. And this is the misperception of being extremely cold. It's like this weird trigger I have when I get too faded, and because I've experienced it so many times, it's like this unholy, intrusive thought that I just can't avoid. You can imagine my situation was not ideal. I was tweaking harder than I probably ever have before, and I just started slowly walking back to my hotel, trying to think of anything besides my bodily functions. I made it back inside, still shivering from my mental debuff, and walked to the elevator as fast as I could, where I had an awkward encounter with a fellow guest.
I'm a swerve in the corner,
Is it really that cold outside?
No, it's pretty warm actually.
Oh. Okay. That dude must have thought he just talked to a local crackhead. But anyway, the instant I got back to my room, I snuggled into my bed to warm up and hopefully stop tweaking, which eventually I did, but I was still scared to leave the comfort on my warm sheets, so I just kind of watched funny YouTube videos until I came down a bit. After about 30 minutes, I stopped geeking and instantly ordered some food, but not just any food. I ordered a large Baconator combo from Wendy's like a true American. And I know I say this every high story, but this time I can't emphasize it enough. That shit was bussin'. Combine my already empty stomach with the wax high, then throw in bacon, cheese, and lettuce. Yeah, I added lettuce to my burger. Why? Cause fitness isn't a choice, it's a lifestyle. So, sorry to disappoint you guys, but really that's about all that happened. The high was very similar to my first Benjamin. Tweak it first, vibe later. Will I be doing dabs again? Probably not, because they're pretty expensive and build up your tolerance super fast. Did I enjoy my time in Dabbington City? Well, besides the first 30 minutes where my brain got Doctor Stranged into Antarctica, it was fun, although it did make me very stupid. As I remember trying to connect my PS5 to my TV, and for like 15 minutes, I was trying to figure out why it wasn't showing up on my screen until I realized,
oh, I'm missing the HDMI cable.
You know, the line between a fun high and a you done high is very thin, and that shit is no joke. Sometimes all it takes is just one extra puff. And that's when I finally realized that dude was not talking about no Coca-Cola to drink.
Wait, but I did buy this weed from him. I wonder if...
No, wait, it can't be.
Everybody stop right now! I think we're all smoking crack!
Hey, yo, see, you got any more of that weed you gave me yesterday? Oh, it's really good shit. Yeah, I really liked it. Hey, yo, so you have some. Hey, yo, give me, I'll give you anything. I'll fucking suck your dick.
And that's exactly why you can never trust a plug who also sells that Coca-Cola, if you know what I'm saying. But your weed being laced with a substance that'll change the chemistry of your brain and make the pursuit of your dreams and happiness into the pursuit of concentrated 1900s Coca-Cola and ruin your life forever is the least of your worries when you smoke up with a bunch of sad boys. Now, don't get me wrong, mental health is very important and you should never keep everything inside because your loved ones ones want to help you. But bro, ever since Juice WRLD dropped Lucid Dreams, motherfuckers will find any reason to be depressed.
I still see your shadows in my room. Can't take back the love that I gave you.
Yo, what's going on with you, bro? Like, you've been acting really sad as of late.
You wouldn't understand. I'm depressed. There's just no point to anything.
Wait, but you weren't depressed 2 days ago. Oh, you're on a sad boy phase.
Sad boy? No! Oh, fuck, I guess I am.
Yeah, bro, how about we go to Salamander's place, get obliterated, and play some Super Smash Bros. Instead of whatever the fuck you're doing here?
Yeah, what am I doing here?
Yeah, let's just get out of here.
1 hour later.
So, Ricky, you still sad? Nah, I'm having a blast. Wait, but you were saying something about, like, someone's shadows you were still seeing in your room?
I don't want to talk about that.
And that's the story of how we were able to stop Ricky from becoming a full-time sad boy, just in the nick of time. But besides almost losing a friend to the song Sad, exclamation point, there have been 2 extremely scary highs I have gone through. One was instigated by the popo, man, fuck the police! And the other was from the fear of losing my life. Let me set the scene for you. I'm in high school and I've smoked maybe 3 or 4 times ever, but the last time I did was months ago, so my tolerance was damn near at the level of smelling some grass and getting faded. Anyway, so I had a couple friends who have been asking me relentlessly to get some and get faded because they didn't know any plugs and really wanted to try it. So one weekend I decided to finally fulfill their request and hit up my homie Salamander and acquired the exotic. The weekend came and we found ourselves in my dorm room rolling a J, which, well, I had rolled it and it took me a while because my stats were low AF. Basically, I was out there trying to pick an expert level lock with 0 points in perception, dog. After going through 20 papers, the abomination was ready though, so we went deep into the local park and sparked it. Barely, because that shit had almost 0 airflow. I had to relight the damn thing after every puff. Yet that was definitely not even close to the worst part, because these motherfuckers who were begging me to get the Zon in the first place were scared shitless to get high, so I ended up smoking like 80% of the J myself, leaving me absolutely zoinked in a group where nobody else wasn't. So you can imagine I was feeling pretty betrayed, and also a bit scared, because if you've ever been obliterated in a group where no one else is, you know that you feel kind of like an alien abandoned by your comrades in a hostile planet, and that feeling was amplified by the fact that these friends of mine were kind of dickheads. Because after puffing down the J, we went to the local gas station to get some munchies, and of course I was fiending for some trans fat, so I asked them if they could go in there and bring me the stuff I wanted, and I'd of course pay them back. Pretty reasonable and easy, right? Being that I was the only one who was blasted and scared of getting caught. I guess fucking not, because these pussios who didn't even inhale the fucking weed told me that they wouldn't bring me anything if I didn't come in, which, I mean, these days I wouldn't mind, but I was like 17 and it was a Friday night, the prime time for cop patrol, so I had no choice and went in there tweaking out of my mind like...
Oh fuck, this place is full. Shit. Wait, it feels like they're all staring at me. I think I'm just high. Okay, let's just get out of here. I'm not gonna order anything. Okay, fine. Go to the corner.
Hey, yo, bro, I'm gonna just take some chips and candy, okay? And can you give me the car keys so I can just wait it out in the car while you guys wait for your food? Yeah?
No.
What? Why? I'm not even gonna turn it on, bro.
Cause, bro, I got an announcement to make.
This motherfucker, Bro, shut the fuck up! That ain't funny, I'm baked as fuck, you pussy.
Okay, but yeah, you're not getting the keys. So basically, these scumbags just decided to torture me, and because I had to wait for their food anyway, I went to order some too, and as I was doing so, 3 girls from my school approached me at the counter and were like, yeah, I'll have a dog.
Hey, see, I heard you guys smoked some weed, yeah?
Well, no, I'll have the dumplings, yeah. But yeah, we definitely didn't.
We're all super duper sober bober.
Yeah, you did. Dwayne said so. You got some left? You can come to our place if you have some. We really want to get faded too.
And in that moment, I had to pause and rethink my whole life, because I did not in fact have any left, because I wasted it all on my rinky-dinky sausage party bum fun enjoying friends. Which, if I would have had some left, I could have gone to these girls' crib and smoked up with free hot chicks. But no, I donated all the weed to Dumber, and me, the dumbest. And after that realization, constellation of alliances, I changed the famous saying, bros before hoes, to bros who aren't hoes before bros. And I live by that to this day. But the scariest part was yet to come, because as I was waiting for my food posted up at the ice cream station, a cop walked in. And that just set my tweak meter to a whole new level. I felt my heart rate spike to like 200 and I was shaking, just begging God for him not to walk towards me. But he fucking did. I avoided eye contact at all costs, but it seemed he had his eyes set on me. He got closer and closer until he was standing right in front of me. Fuck, why is he here? He knows I'm faded, doesn't he? Oh shit, I'm fucked. I'm going to juvie. This is over. Oh my God, I'm gonna fucking die.
Yes, officer?
Could you move out of the way, please? I want some ice cream.
Yeah, of course. My bad.
Thanks. Nothing better than some good old Ben & Jerry's to complement a sour diesel joint. Shit, fucking fire. Okay, the last part maybe didn't happen, okay? Anyway, the build-up, the weed, the cop, everything combined gave me some of the worst anxiety I've ever had, but the relief when he just wanted some ice cream was equally amazing. I had gotten away from this horrid situation, and once we got our food, we went to a hangout spot where I got really cold and tweaked again. Overall, I'd rate the high a 7 out of 10 just because it was eventful and I got a nice adrenaline dump, but it would have been a damn 9.5 if your boy could have gone to the girls' crib and got faded with some hot females instead of my pussy friends, goddamn. Although this high was quite stressful, it did have its highlights.
10,000 BC, a group of cavemen in the Oki Islands of Japan needed some warmth and wanted to start a fire when they discovered a funny looking green plant and either out of curiosity or desperation took it and inadvertently created history's first ever hotbox. Yet this early grass was not that loud that people be smoking today because as we know, over the years the za has been scientifically and artificially cultivated to be much more concentrated in the high it gives. So although it is funny to think about a group of cavemen purposely starting a fire in a small shelter for the sole purpose of getting faded in a hoe, it is unlikely that it actually ever happened. Yet aside from this iffy recreational stint in Japan, hemp was first commonly used in the lands that are modern day Mongolia and China for more practical uses like eating it. Which after saying that you might be imagining something like this. Yo, what's up? How you doing? Had any fun with those new seeds I gave you?
Nah, I actually came here to give them back. Last night I was looking at the moon and I swear that motherfucker was looking right back at me.
But alas, this probably wasn't the reality because the THC levels in this early cultivated Zaza were just really low, but soon the Chinese would discover that the holy plant's fibers were also great for making stuff too, like clothes, paper, and bowstrings. Which turns out hemp fibers were superior to the bamboo ones used by rivaling factions, allowing the Chinese to shoot their arrows much further. So basically, back in the day, if you were having a long distance bow battle and were losing, you might have screamed out, "We need to get closer! These motherfuckers have weed!" Anyway, it wasn't long after mofos realized that the loud wasn't only good for making stuff, it was also great for treating physical maladies. And after a couple thousand years, Emperor Shen Nung, known as the father of Chinese medicine, included the magic plant in his medical encyclopedia under the name Ma. Which, that sounds oddly similar to Za, doesn't it? I'm guessing every couple thousand years the first letter changes or something. But now, let's explore the question we're all asking. When exactly did mofos start ripping that shit to get faded? Well, one of the earliest counts is about 2,500 years ago when researchers discovered 10 mini barbecues in a cemetery near modern-day Tajikistan that had residue of burnt cannabis with a much higher concentration of THC than normal, probably meaning it was selectively bred to get you, well, lit. Although this was one of the first counts of people purposely inhaling the broccoli to get high, it was most likely used as part of a ritual to invoke an altered state of mind so you could communicate with spirits.
Which shit, dog, I wanna know what these dudes were smoking, cause I ain't never heard of no grass that gets you to the spirit realm.
This might have low-key been the last kush Snoop Dogg smoked, cause once you get so high you start communicating with your dead gran-gran, that's when you really might be like,
okay, I think it's about time I stop smoking this shit.
Since cannabis, for one reason or another, proved to be quite the useful plant, people started trading it around the world as soon as it was domesticated. Which the only people who didn't really fuck with the Zaza were Europeans, who preferred getting hammered instead. Which is low-key reflected in modern times too, especially in the northern countries where once you turn 18, you can drink as much poison as you want, but if you want a blaze, well, you might be looking at a little bit of jail time, my boy. But now, let's quickly go over the uses of cannabis throughout different cultures so we can move on to the modern age, starting with Hindus. They made something called Bang, an edible cannabis paste that had medicinal properties, but also got you high. This could be added to a variety of foods and drinks, which this Bang was the preferred food of the Hindu god Shiva, making him in my eyes the god of edibles.
Disclaimer, that was a joke.
Islam. Here the Za was called hashish and was introduced about 1,000 years ago, which hashish wasn't strictly forbidden in the Quran at first, so a lot of Muslims ate it for its medicinal and relaxation properties. But later, Egypt basically banned it, and also the Quran was revisited by many and reinterpreted to include hashish to be banned just like alcohol. The Vikings. These dudes basically used the Za to make rope, sailcloth, and other things, but also for its medicinal properties, mostly to relieve pain, and to date there's no hard evidence that they consumed it for its recreational use, but you know, maybe they should have, because they were quite the horrendous savages and murderers, so it might have made them think a little bit about peace and love. But what about America, England, and the actual global world powers? How did they react to weed? Well, again, like the Chinese, Europeans and Americans at first prominently used the magic green plant in the 16th to 18th century for more practical things like making sailcloth and rope, which the plant itself grew much larger in the New World soil, and combined with the practicality of it, everything started being hemp-derived. Clothes, paper, well, basically anything that required fibers. But the question still remains, when did mofos start smoking that shit to get blasted on the regular? Cause although at some point you, your neighbor, your grandma, your boss, and even George Washington were out here growing weed, wasn't nobody out here rolling them up. Well, until the arrival of Mexicans. The loud version of hemp first arrived in Brazil in the early 1500s by way of enslaved Africans traveling with the Portuguese. And the native South Americans, who are already consuming some other psychoactive substances, quickly started blazing the Zaza too, and its use soon spread across South America and into Mexico, from which in the 1910s is when the loud first spread into the US, via Mexican immigrants escaping the effects of the Mexican Revolution. And almost immediately the good was viewed as a threat, and by 1931, 29 states had banned its use. Although it wasn't really the Zaza that the US didn't fall with, it was unfortunately mostly just racism against Mexican Americans and black citizens of the South, which both these groups were enjoyers of the Za to some regard, so it became a scapegoat for racial bias in the US, and they blamed it for everything from petty crimes all the way to murder. And in 1937, the US completely banned all non-medical use of weed, which all this kind of explains why the mostly peaceful plant has been thrown in the same Schedule 1 category with full-on life-destroying substances like heroin and cocaine. But thankfully, a couple decades later came the hippie movement of the 1960s to 1970s. This is what lightly sparked a comeback for weed, cause unlike before, when the Zaza was mostly smoked by Mexican immigrants and black citizens who the US was massively racist against, the hippie movement had middle-class white American youth start blazing too. Which it was all about love, peace, spirituality, non-violence, and of course, every hippie's favorite, recreational drug use. Although most hippies were all about peace and love, that was quite easy to say when most of them were literally privileged enough to drop out of college, run off with Cassandra in a rainbow van, go on copious amounts of mindset-altering trips, mostly powered by LSD, and then return 10 years later to their parents and have them say,
"It's okay, son. I was young and stupid once too."
Anyway, although the grass was still federally illegal, this didn't really do much, cause in 1976, 1 in 8 Americans over the age of 12 admitted to smoking it in the past 30 days. Hippies though were especially interested in cannabis, so much so they went on something called the Hippie Trail, which was basically an excursion by the youths of the world to go over to the Middle East and India, all while riding in magic buses and discovering new ways to get absolutely blasted, such as smoking the concentrated Zaza resin known as hash.
But acquiring the Zaza would soon get much harder, because you see, most of it came from Mexico, so in 1969 the US started patrolling the border, and in 1975 they got even more aggressive and started spraying herbicide on Mexican weed plants. And so good old supply and demand made grass prices skyrocket, which a lot of people started then growing the plant themselves in mini greenhouses, closets, bathtubs, storage units, basements, wherever they could. But then in 1982, Mr. Smarty Pants Ronald Reagan took it even a step further by encouraging the streamlined arrest of anyone in possession of an illegal substance, which was really dumb because most of the focus was on pot, all while crack, meth, and heroin were all still being transported and consumed on a regular basis. Even worse, this enforcement seemed to be racially motivated because despite plenty of traffickers and consumers being white, the majority of arrests were Latino and black youths, all while this bizarre over-focus on cannabis allowed the growing opioid epidemic to go unchecked. But thankfully, the US is slowly learning from their mistakes, where today 24 states have legalized the recreational use of marijuana. On top of that, the increased level of research on it has also found multiple medical use cases and can be prescribed to you by special doctors if seen fit. And although the Zaza is still federally illegal and a Schedule I drug, the overall perception of it has changed for the better, including in December 2022 when President Biden signed a bill to make it easier for researchers to obtain plants for their studies, which will hopefully accelerate the learning of positive and negative side effects of consuming the Za even further. But all that aside, the overall vibe towards the loud has gotten a lot more accepting, and these days more and more people view the smoking of the grass not as you being a junkie, but the same way as having a couple beers with the homies on a Friday night and watching some WWE.
The first high, a core memory, and whether you enjoyed it or not doesn't really matter, cause for 95% of people, their first time literally shapes their entire opinion on the grass. Almost everybody who isn't age 50 or over and says, weed is the work of the devil, and should be more illegal than even meth. Well, actually it is. The Za is Schedule 1 and meth is Schedule 2, so... Yeah, that's right. That's why I love America. Greatest damn country in the world.
USA! USA! USA!
Anyway, what I was saying was that most people who tweak their first time are put off by it for a while and shape into Za haters, and people who have fun their first time, believe it or not, don't all become mindless junkies who eat Little Caesars and watch SpongeBob all day. Rather, when asked their opinion on weed, they'll probably just say,
my stomach turned into an endless void with an unquenchable hunger for anything edible, which was followed by a sleepiness so uncontrollable I passed out halfway into my 25th Twinkie. It was pretty fun.
So obviously me, CBD bro, who runs an entire YouTube channel dedicated to the green plant, must have had the latter experience, right? Well, not really. As you see, when I was but a wee lad, uncontaminated by the forbidden fruits of the world like alcohol, nicotine, and yes, weed, always believed that alcohol makes you homeless, nicotine makes you a little bitch, and weed makes you lazy. Thinking that, I didn't want to waste not just my first high, but my very first time feeling anything besides normal on eating Doritos and watching Family Guy. Which, after turning 17, I decided it was about time I lost my substance virginity and planned to do so on Christmas dinner, where I was gonna let El Marijuana put its big, fat, thick, juicy, delicately rolled J in my mouth, but only after I had eaten, as I believed if my tummy was full, I wouldn't get the munchies and could instead contemplate the meaning of life my time high. And thankfully, I had an older brother who was more than willing to give me a puff or two from his Christmas dinner J for $4, the fucking cheapskate. So we went upstairs and started puffing, which Rezex was instantly bamboozled from the magic grass. Nice, it's not a dud. Now it's my turn. I grabbed the J and puffed until I could puff no more. And the result was, I didn't feel a damn thing. Still had to pay the $4 though. Fucking bullshit. Anyway, as we went through the day, I got increasingly more jealous of my brother, who by his words was fried AF. I was beginning to think maybe I'm immune to getting high, which after telling my brother this theory, he concluded that I'm stupid and just didn't inhale the Za in my lungs, and so generously told me to follow him upstairs where he gave me a couple more puffs. for an extra $4, the damn venture capitalist. As I was smoking away, keeping in mind to inhale it all the way down to my lungs, I still wasn't feeling anything, and my hopes of getting fried AF were beginning to look more like a distant dream. When I finished puffing, I sat down at the computer to look at some of those watch while high videos, and my brother asked me, "So, you feel anything now?" No, I don't. What's this weird I'm not sure. I don't know, seems to me you're fried like some Kentucky chicken, boy. I was indeed fried, and incredibly so. Although I didn't smoke a ton, my body had never experienced anything besides a sugar rush and maybe a caffeine kick. So as I was watching this watch while you're high video, I was laughing at everything and was tripping the fuck out. But not in a bad way, it was freaking amazing. Being high was what I always imagined it to be until... Bloop. I'm sober again. Yeah, you heard right. My first high lasted like 30 seconds, and in an instant, I was back to normal, which I don't know why. Even to this day, when I tell people about this, nobody can relate because no one has experienced this phenomenon. But since I'm a scientist, I have developed a super duper concrete theory backed by quantum mechanics and the late great Stephen Hawking on my experience, and overall the reason why a lot of people who smoke their first time don't feel anything. I theorize that all humans have a natural block against foreign substances, a wall per se, and when an individual inhales za, the particles act kind of like micromissiles targeting your cannabinoid receptors. For the people whose defensive wall is strong enough, it will stop all perpetrators attempting to infiltrate your brain. But this wall isn't regeneratable, so if the micromissiles fail to get you fried at first, the next time they'll have an easier time against your already damaged wall of defense. Now, I bet you're thinking to yourself, this mofo been smoking too much of that Einstein pack. And to you, I say maybe, but also I have practical proof of this theory. I used to be a pro baller, and one day me and a couple hooper friends who all have great immune systems and therefore probably good za defensive walls decided to smoke up, and to my buddies, it was their first time. Once we lit the J and passed it around, I made sure to tell everybody to inhale the smoke in their lungs, which I'm pretty sure they all did, but still, I was the only one who got high, cause it wasn't my first time. But when I smoked up with some of my non-athlete first-timer friends, they all got high like normal. So, conclusion, defensive saw wall is a real thing and I stand by my theory. Anyway, although that was my first time feeling high, I wouldn't call it my first high because it only lasted for half a minute. My first real high experience was something even more memorable and etched to my brain until I die. A couple weeks after the last incident, me and Riz X decided it was about damn time I actually felt the true loving touch of the Mary Jane. And this time, instead of having only scraps of za, we bought a whole gram to hopefully destroy my highly speculative za wall. I think it's real. Also, at this time, we were obsessed with freestyle rapping, so we decided the plan of action was to smoke up, eat candy, and rap battle to copyright-free beats while recording it so we could listen to our unreleased tracks in the morning. Since our parents were away for the night, we got the whole apartment to ourselves and planned on rolling 2 J's, both containing 0.5 Gs. Since we were petrified at the thought of getting caught blazing, instead of being sensible and smoking the J's near a window and just blowing the smoke out, we put our jackets on and walked 500 feet away from the apartment to light up, just to be sure that there wouldn't even be a microfiber of evidence that we were smoking the devil's lettuce. As we were consuming the J, all I could hope for was that this time I wouldn't just get a limited free trial, but the actual full version. But alas, when we finished puffing the J, I again felt nothing, or at least that's what I thought, cause as we arrived back home, I finally realized that, so you feeling it? Yeah, kinda. Sometimes the high hits you a couple minutes later, especially if you're going from outdoors to indoors as we did. And my highly accepted theory in the science community about this phenomenon is that through evolution, we have always considered indoors to be our safe zone and outdoors dangerous. Therefore, when you're outside, your brain doesn't allow the full faded and relaxed effect to take over, probably in anticipation of a roadman coming and chefing you up with the mandem. Okay, this one I'm not so confident in, and I have to come clean. I am in no shape or form associated with the science community. yet. Anyway, now that we were high and in the living room, we started putting on some beats and freestyling, and to this day, I have yet to replicate the skill and precision of my flow that high. It's hard to explain, but nowadays, I can't rap for shit. I mean, I'll spit one line and be like, yo, I've been getting money making racks, cause you know I'm flipping packs. That's facts. Yeah, that's it. Basically, I run out of rhymes pretty fast, but that day, I did not. In fact, even when my brain had nothing to say, my mouth rapped it for me. I turned into a freestyling robot and became dead sure that I was gonna make it out by dropping a mixtape and becoming a famous rapper. Until we listened to the recording in the morning and realized, yo, flowing on the go, your girl she a hoe, making money dancing with a pole, my girl making dough while doing lines of blow, cause we in the penthouse, baby, living life, and that's for show. Yeah, I'll try YouTube instead. What's crazy though is that after that, I was never able to replicate the auto rapping again, so my rap career never flowered. So yesterday, I was packing myself a big ol' hit, as per usual, and thought to myself, man, I'm really hitting this out from this wacky silicone machine-crafted laboratory-grade piece. Like, what happened to the Apple BONG, the can BONG, the good old spliff? And so today, I'm coming at you with the 5 levels of smoking grass, and how your equipment to do so evolves, along with your mindset and shit. Starting with level 1, the noob. This the level where you still think this is some type of magical space unicorn shit, cause well, you've never done it, but your friends say it's crazy. So one day, you and the boys hear of a dude called Dragon selling grass in the school bathroom, so you band your money together and go acquire the grass. Once obtained and a safe area found, your friends are like, how are we gonna smoke this? Which, depending on where you're at, you're gonna end up either with a crappily handcrafted spliff or an aluminium can with holes in it. Whichever one you choose, you're gonna get faded than a hoe that night, and either fly with the happy space unicorns or get tortured by thoughts like, hope my mom doesn't call me right now. Is this ever gonna wear off? Was 9/11 an inside job? And if your first experience was the latter, then you probably didn't advance to the next level, at least for a while. But if you had a fun old time and continue to smoke up with your buddies, at some point you'll find yourself at level 2. Why does she always make my throat burn? After a while of smoking the za from spliffs or from some shitty Mountain Dew can, you finally think to yourself, maybe I should invest in something that makes it so my throat doesn't want to eat itself inside out every time I take a hit. So you go online and buy the cheapest BONG you can find. Excited to use your new acquired technology, you invite your friends over and get faded than a hoe yet again. But it's different this time, because the BONG doesn't destroy your throat as much. You can actually kinda take consecutive hits, so being the genius you are, you do that and ascend into Yodi Land for the first time. After the ascension, you begin to wonder though, how high can a mortal man truly be? Which the answers to those questions are still a ways away, but after a quick Google search of how to get more high, you discover something called the Gravity BONG, and soon after go into level 3, the Zaza Man. Eager to try out your newfound powers of gravity control, you yet again invite your friends over and take a smack dabbly do off that thing. Which what follows is actually not as crazy as before, cause even though you all did get faded than a hoe, you also got sleepier than a hoe and got knocked out on the couch pretty fast. So you vow that the next time you use the powers of gravity, you'll drink an energy drink or something so you won't fall asleep like a baby. Even though it is pretty nice sleeping like a baby. Anyway, at this point, your friends are probably like, yeah, nah, that's a bit much. But because you're a crusader and haven't yet learned the lesson of moderation, you still want to get even more faded. So back to Google, and now you find yourself basically with 2 options, edibles or dabs. But because this is the 5 levels of smoking grass, let's just say you chose the dab pen. And shortly after, you move to level 4. The Fortnite cart. After the obtaining of the Benjamin, you test it out with your friends and you get faded than a hoe yet again. But the reality is your friends just want to smoke normal za cause the Benjamin kicks too hard for them. But you still haven't learned moderation, so you call them wackos and waddle your way to Benjamin City alone. While at Benjamin City, you're like, more high, must get more high. And there's only one more item to fill your never-ending quench for tolerance destruction, and that is level 5. Bro, what the fuck? You got a damn science station here with dab rigs? They're, well, unnecessary is a way to put it. I mean, bro, you know she has gone too far when you gotta look at the instructions on how to get high.
Plus your friends don't even really want to try it out anymore and urge you to go on a tea break, which after realizing that all your money has been going to your need to get higher and higher, you're kind of forced into one, which after hopefully you'll move on to. Final level. Ascend it. Finally, you realize smoking za isn't just about getting as high as possible, because every situation has its own limits of fatedness. So if you're just going out on a night out with your homies, best thing to do is to smoke a spliff. If you don't want to get faded in a hodo at home, do the gravity, and so on. The true power you have over all the other levels though is you've already gone through all of them, knowing that you can manage your tolerance correctly and smoke up with the appropriate tools for the appropriate situations.
Sunrock, the most powerful grass that humanity has ever conjured up, with even its less potent relative Moonrock being so extreme that
Moonrock is too
says
much,
it's
dog.
too much. And since I had once already traveled to the moon and made it back alive, barely, I saw it only fitting for me to conquer the sun as well. But unlike last time, where I was in Amsterdam with my brother and had the comfort of tweaking together, this time I was alone, nearly 6,000 miles away from home, in the city of sin, Las Vegas, Nevada. The story kicks off a couple days after I had hit my first blinker and discovered a new realm of high. You know, kind of like Columbus when he discovered America, but unlike Columbus who annihilated the indigenous people, I was annihilating the Zaza, you know, blah, blah, blah. Anyway, after seeing firsthand what the land of the free can offer in terms of getting obliterated beyond the realms of Mother Nature, I was quite intrigued. So out of curiosity, I decided to Google strongest weed you can get in Las Vegas, just in case there was something more potent than Moonrock, which up until this point I thought was the pinnacle of bud. So after stumbling upon an article comparing the rocks from the moon and sun, I realized that in my ignorance I had crowned a false king, and the only deserving punishment for a big smarty pants weed stickman YouTuber like myself was to feel the full wrath of the true strongest weed in the universe. I hopped on the local Las Vegas weed dispensary site in hopes of having it delivered to me like the Benjamin, but either due to current weather conditions or just the delivery man greening the fuck out, it said, "We are currently not providing deliveries." For the time being, I had no other choice than to leave my apartment and go to the closest dispensary in hopes of them having this exotic nug in stock. Only problem was that it was night and well, your boy wasn't exactly staying at Caesar's Palace, so as I was preparing to go outside in the dark, where, mind you, I saw a guy walking around wearing a safety vest, rocking a handlebar mustache and carrying a double-barrel shotgun the night before, I just had to take a quick rip from the bong to make it a high story, you know?
Okay, 2 miles that way. Wish I had a car. Guess I'll just run. Fucking bullshit.
A few minutes later.
Hello, sir? Oh yeah, hello. You guys have something called Sunrock? It's like, nope. Just sold the last stock. Those guys bought it. We got Moonrock though. No, I've already done that. You know where I can get some Sunrocks though? Yeah, the store a mile from here should have some left. Okay, yeah, thank you.
A few minutes later.
Sorry, I gotta see your passport first, bruh.
No, but this is like my government issued ID, can you?
Look, I'm sorry. We have a lot of people visiting from banana republics these days, and we can't start selling to everybody with a rinky-dinky, this is a real country, Google it, ID card. Come back with a passport and I'll hook you up.
I'm not from Banana Republic. We made Skype. We made
Hello
Skype.
there. Hello there. Yes, I had to now walk back 3 miles, get my passport, walk another 3 to get the Sunrock, and then walk another 3 back home. And mind you, I had already ran 3 miles too. So you know, of course, cause your boy fast as ball, quick as an electrical jolt, I got an Uber back home. But now I was fresh again, so of course I put on my Space Jams and I got an Uber. But then when I was there and showed my passport, received my $80 weed, I was not trying to get robbed on the walkway filled with homeless camps in Las Vegas fiends, so I got an Uber. Finally, after wasting a week's transportation budget in 40 minutes, I was back in my apartment, Sunrock in hand and rolling papers in my pockets. And yes, unlike last time with the Moonrock, I wasn't about to smack that shit from my bong and get assimilated. Cause from the blinker I had done a couple days back, I learned my lesson about concentrate. Do not underestimate it. So I rolled me up a Slimmy Slimmer, basically a very small J. And something you might not know is that with these caviar nugs like Sunrock, you're not really really supposed to grind them with a regular grinder, so I just used my fingers to break the nug apart, and because of that, well, let's just say the airflow on this J was god awful. Later on, I would find out you're not supposed to smoke sunrock from a J at all, but hey, you live and you learn. Anyway, I went to my patio and attempted to light this abomination, and I mean, it really was. Imagine taking some A4 Wagyu steak and serving it in a dirty bucket, but alas, I still... The first puff, yes, the goddamn first puff got me drafted in a galactic war against the Matrix. And I think that had to do with the fact that Jay only had like 3 puffs in it, because I was basically just smoking straight nugs. But I decided for the legacy of CBD, bro, I shall do another puff. The French Revolution, the Napoleonic Wars, the moon landing, the splitting of the atom, the theory of relativity, it all flashed before my eyes because I now saw the world from an interstellar position. And I would love to say I now went on some grand adventure and discovered the Holy Grail with some Las Vegas crackheads, but this was different. The high was spent glued to my couch, wondering the meaning of the universe and how I had traveled 6,000 miles across the ocean and was now sitting on a couch in some random Airbnb completely and utterly blasted beyond human understanding. After about 15 minutes of doing literally nothing but staring at my wall, I decided to watch some YouTube and found this guy called Oversimplified who makes these historical animation videos and spent a good portion of my high learning about the history of our world. Too bad I don't remember a goddamn thing, but at the time I felt like I was really becoming a damn scholar. I guess the lessons and memories of that high are waiting for me once I return to the land of the sun.
Where am I?
Man, I told you not to smoke that sun rock. You stuck on the sun now, fool, with the rest of us.
No! Oh, no, wait, that was just a dream. Damn, I'm fucked up.
Yeah, bro. You were in a hell of a kush coma.
Yeah, I guess I was. Wait! Bro, I got stuck in a kush coma, my dudes. Shit was crazy, and I don't actually remember the exact dreams I saw, but they were pretty trippy, and it was one of those inception things that had me waking up from a dream into another dream, son. Safe to say, I had gotten assimilated. But it was kind of nice, because it was a real clear high without anxiety, which usually when you get that obliterated, it always comes accompanied with just a little bit of anxiety at least. So, are sun rocks stronger than moon rocks? Yes, but the main thing I took from this high was that they also kinda better. You know, back in the day, if you wanted to get high discreetly, well, sorry bro, but there was no way. I mean, you got the J, which stanks up everything. You got the bong, which although doesn't stank as much, where you gonna hide it? Imagine trying to sneak by your parents on some... What you doing dropping shit at a time like this, boy? Downstairs, I came down, I wanted a glass of water, yeah. Boy, you must be neurologically disabled if you think that'll excuse you from breaking some dusty-ass dollar store piece and spilling bong water all over my goddamn living room. No, it's... Here, take a smack of this shit. It'll get you proper, boy. Well, that sounds like a pretty fun... Anyway, point is, you're not gonna be hiding that shit for long. Only real option you had was the pipe. But bro, at that point, you sacrificing everything you got for one high. Like, I swear, the pipe is the last way anybody in their right mind wants to get faded. Every time I hit it, it's like my lungs and throat revert back to factory settings. Like I ain't never inhaled anything besides O2 before. Basically, by smacking the pipe, you're hurting your lungs and throat to the point it kind of up the first 30 minutes of your high. And that's exactly why when the first Benjamin was invented by the scientists at Yodiland, it changed the game, bruh. Never before could you get obliterated on the go regardless of where you were or what you were doing. And thanks to that, getting high has become so damn easy, you got motherfuckers making obliteration their normal state. Never before could someone do anything even remotely sus and you could just assume they were fucking high. My man had sunglasses on for no reason, faded. Dude was staring somewhere for a bit too long, obliterated. Dude went to White Castle for a culinary experience. Well, that motherfucker's just weird.
Goddamn cafeteria food.
And you can forget about gas stations and fast food places. I mean, at this point, it's like damn near mandatory to be blasted on the job. And I got nothing against that, just since 90% of the time I find myself at 7-Eleven, I'm fried too, and the motherfucker that's supposed to be helping me is trying to scan my items with his damn iPhone. Nah, but for real, the pace that these fried motherfuckers work at is fine when your brain is running at the same low frequency, but if you're in a rush, it'll take damn near every ounce of mental strength you got to stop yourself from forcing a damn self-checkout.
Would you like a bag with that, sir?
Fuck no, here's the money, just give me my shit. But don't get me wrong, I got nothing against a good old Benjamin. There really ain't a better on-the-go, fast and easy way to get faded. Unfortunately, I didn't go to college and kinda cheated my way through high school too, so the 15 or so brain cells I was able to develop that keep me from losing and forgetting shit turned into, well, basically zero. And for that reason, I've already lost 2 of them. One of them slipped out my pocket while I was at the movies, and I'm pretty sure some teenagers stole it, cause after the film, when I was looking for it with my flashlight and shit, these motherfuckers were giggling in the back, looking at me like I was a damn circus clown. Coupled with the fact I was fried as fuck, I was fighting my tears. Dog. I just got robbed by some damn teens and I can't even do shit cause it was illegal to even bring it in there. Second one I lost in a very similar manner. As I was getting out my Uber going back home, my sweatpants did me dirty and flinged that fucker out as I was standing up. Took me 2 minutes to realize, and when I did, my Uber driver was probably already hitting that shit cause when I called him back to ask for it, he said,
Let me check. It seems that you only left me a $1 tip. Sorry, I couldn't find it.
And that one hurt the most because that was the first pen I ever had and the one I used for my first Benjamin adventure, which my first time was, well, by far the highest I have ever been in my life. I'm talking freaky, I'm talking third person. Shit, it was the first time in years I truly greened the thaw out. For you see, normal weed or bud is just that, normal. So the strength of it is confined in the realms of reality, unless you know it, it's moon rock. Anyway, the biggest difference between smacking a pen versus, let's say, a J is that the pen doesn't have normal bud in it. It has concentrate, which if you're unaware like I was, is about 10 to 20 times stronger than bud. Knowing that, the best way to get faded off the pen is by just taking small rips to avoid getting sent into the goddamn shadow realm. For example, the YouTuber DamianLuck925 is very well known for taking multiple blinkers, which is the biggest hit you can take, outside in social situations, most notably in random classrooms, like it's nothing. So me being at my USA Airbnb alone in the confines of my living room, thought to myself, okay, so it looks like the basic hit I should do at least is 1 blinker, but probably more. Yet what was waiting for me on the other side of Blinker City was something I was not prepared for. Something unholy. The voices. I'll never forget the horrible things they were whispering. They made me almost delete my YouTube channel. Anyway, it started with me ordering a 1-gram pen off of Weed Amazon, and it arrived the very next day in a beat-up Cadillac with a delivery man who, from the looks of it, tests out every product he delivers just, you know, to make sure the quality is there. Yo, bro, you're here for the weed, right? You got the cash? Yeah, I ordered through your website, though. It should be paid for already. Yeah, I forgot I'd take online orders now, too. Anyway, here's the stuff, bro. I trust you. Hey, thanks, bro. Have a good one. You too, man. Hello, Mr. Bro. We got a delivery for you from Weed Amazon that should be arriving in an hour or so. Will you be home then?
Wait, didn't I just...
I'm a gorilla in a fucking scoop. Gonna pull up to the zoo.
Oh, I better get out of here.
So I went back to the crib, Benjamin in hand, and prepared myself to get faded. And obviously, I went for a blinker, my very first hit. But since I had never smacked a pen before, I inhaled it for about 4 seconds and stopped because it was so light on my throat, I thought it wasn't working, but it actually was. And from that 4-second puff, I was already quite bamboozled. But since I have this weird rule of every time I get new stuff, I break it in by doing a massive hit, I thought, well, fuck. I was supposed to do a blinker, and went for it again. I inhaled and inhaled for a good 8 to 10 seconds, but the thing just wouldn't fucking blink. It got to the point where there was tears coming from my eyes and my throat was begging me to stop, and it ended up like... I had made a grave mistake. I was so fucking high, I felt my soul leave my body. I was so high, I forgot I was even high. But it was just the beginning, cause over the next 10 minutes, I just kept on getting more faded, and the demons in my head kept on getting louder and louder. But if you know me, I kinda refused to green out, so I just kept on doing random shit like reading the ingredients list off my bag of M&Ms, reading the comments on my videos.
Change that mark below. Do things has changed for real. Imagine copying another YouTuber.
Kill yourself. Was not doing good. I was keeping a strong facade, but inside there was a war going on. I was feeling like Naruto with the 9 tails, only instead of an all-powerful destructive force talking to me, I was just really fucking high. Anyway, so yeah, I was grading out, which hadn't happened to me in years, and I concluded that because the voice of reason was completely being outspoken by the voice of tweaking. The good news is though, the hype from the Benjamin doesn't last too long, and in about 1 to 2 hours, I had started coming down, but at that point, I was already crawled up in my bed, scrolling endlessly on my phone, until I finally reached a state where I felt good enough to come out of emergency mode and order some food and ate myself into a food coma. So I learned, well, firstly, that motherfucker Fulcrum is actually insane, or his tolerance is just something else, bro, and that the Benjamin is best enjoyed in puffs of 3 to 5 seconds and not blinkers.